grate me in the mouth. Yes.
69, dude.
I absolutely love
You have failed this
night ever.
What is this? What are we doing?
No. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Call Guys podcast. I'm Gunner, also known as Chico Noise, two-time podcast host, current resident of Williamsport, Pennsylvania. And I just want to say, like I've said in past episodes, I am so thankful for everyone that takes time out of their week, whether it's an hour or you're getting caught up on all the Call Guys stuff. I just want to thank you all for sitting down and hanging out with us and having a good time. Alongside me, as always, my good friend, Colton Keel.
That's
Like to call
right.
him
We got it.
one Keel for three. And as promised, we do have two special guests for episode 16, Chris Clayton and
Nick Nordmann.
oh baby, how you guys doing?
Wait, you're a double consonant name too, Nick Nordmann,
I am a
and
double
Chris
consonant
Clayton.
name.
Oh man, we could have been Marvel superheroes.
There's still time. There's still time.
Yeah,
A little bit of time.
Yeah,
If you make enough money, you can build yourself a suit
Or Batcave.
or a Batcave.
Sorry, I know.
Get
Yeah,
that
no,
D.
we can't
Get
talk
that.
about
Get that
DC.
DC. Get the DC
Oh no,
stuff off.
we can't start on a negative note. Don't do it yet.
yeah.
Chris, I'm gonna say that's just strike one.
Oh, for all the listeners out there that have been hating on Colton since he's been smack talking DC, I feel your pain. No, I'm just okay. Wrong topic. Let's go.
Wrong topic.
Oh man, that would be an episode in and of itself. Him just defending people. You need callers.
Yeah, I don't.
We've
wanna-
talked about it. We've talked about somehow adding a live feature to this, and we just got to find the topic and the people to call.
It would
Yeah.
it would be like every maybe so many episodes or something. You could do like a special thing. That'd
Oh,
be cool.
we've got special things coming up. You know, we talked about it. Beer 30 for
Oh,
episode
man.
30, where we're
Yep.
gonna have a bunch of the people that have been on that are our really good friends. We're gonna sit down, have a bucket of beers, and wrap some topics around the top. So every time you crack a beer, you have to read the topic and start the topic off. Which I don't know where that idea came from, but I like.
It's a
beer
good
and
one. I
like
like it.
talking. So that, and we actually talked about when we get to episode 50, which obviously isn't going to be for a long time. It actually falls on the weekend of my dad's 50th birthday.
Oh, that's right.
So we're going to call it the 50-50
Ooh.
episode. And it's going to, what would we call it? The Emperor Strikes Back.
The Emperor Strikes
Yeah.
Back. That's right.
So
I love it.
that'll be super fun to do. Yeah, Nick, how's it going?
You know, it's going. I'm glad I'm inside doing the podcast, not outside, because Houston is just gross outside right now. So
Hmm. Yeah. What is the
Oh.
temperature there right now?
it's probably around like 97 to
Hmm.
99 ish. It's
That
been
was
high
our-
90s.
That was our week
for,
last week.
It's a
Yeah.
dry heat, though. It's a dry heat. I'm
Oh.
sure.
It's not
It's
a
the
dry
driest heat in the world down there in the
It's not.
freaking bayou.
It's soup. The
It's
air is
soup.
soup.
Yeah.
That
We-
sucks.
We've been pretty fortunate here in Pennsylvania this week.
Yeah.
So
for
as,
sure.
as you can tell, Chris and I are doing the pod on the run,
Yeah.
and we are here in a hotel in Pennsylvania, and
Pretty nice
the weather
hotel.
has been perfect, to be honest.
I guess the real question is why are you both down there?
Man, this plant has become one of those things that we have to be here and get it done and get it ready to go by the first week of July. So, which is when this will
Next-
come
next
out.
week.
So, you know,
Yeah, next
it's
week.
Crazy, it's crazy to think that, like,
Yeah, we're doing our best to really help them out.
yeah, it's been busy.
It's been super busy during the day. My wife, I was actually telling her a little bit about the week, and she was like, "Oh, I'm glad you've been having fun." And I was like, "Yeah, definitely after work." It's like we kind of have the frustrations and stresses while we're there,
Yeah.
trying to do our best to get everybody ready. And then we try to have a good time afterwards, like just relax, and we find good places to eat and some good stuff to drink, and it's a good time.
Yeah, yeah, there's tons of good places here in this
Yeah,
area that
no,
are
for
just
real.
insanely nice down by rivers. at the
Williamsport,
bottom of the
Pennsylvania, in
mountains.
case
Yeah.
you're ever there.
Yeah, you're here for the Little League World Series, which is on the 18th of July, which is the next week
19th.
I'm here.
Yeah.
And they said you can't get a hotel room for over 100 miles from here.
I believe that.
So yeah, that'll be
It's gonna
fun.
suck.
Try to figure
Yeah.
that one out. But Chris, Thanks for being back.
Yeah,
I think Colton
absolutely.
and I have dubbed you as our in-house Star Wars guy,
Well,
and
don't.
now we might have a.
I was going to say
second-
there might.
I was gonna
think
say
there's
I
one
brought
there.
I brought Nick in to
Yeah.
counteract and combat with your Star Wars ringer. So I brought my own ringer
Hey, I'm
in,
ready.
in Nick here. So Nick, don't let me down. We're gonna go a little tit for tat here, a couple rounds. We're gonna get
Yeah.
back in the corners. We're gonna regroup, and then we're gonna attack. Because you know what we do, Nick? We win is what we do.
You know, we'll see
Okay.
how it goes, judging by the live feed that we obviously have going right now and the live comments that are happening.
Yeah.
See how it goes.
Thank you to Haley Steinfeld 13. We appreciate your comment.
So, for those of you that listen, I'm sure a lot of our listeners do know who Nick is, but a little background on Nick, just how Colton. Well, Colton, how do you know Nick mostly? Because I have different. I'm sure we know him for different reasons.
Oh yeah, for sure. I know his older brothers better probably when we first started. I think they played first off. I think we played Little League baseball together. Were you all three on our team?
I was
Or was
not. I was too young.
Yeah, I was gonna say I thought it was just Doug and Kurt.
Mhm.
Kurt missed a ball at the catcher to lose the championship game.
Don't. He's not listening to this. You don't need to throw him under the bus.
Wow.
Well,
wow.
now you got a reason. You got to have him listen to this part. Kurt, I love you, man. Miss you. Doug, I know you'll never see this, so
And you know what?
Yeah.
We've got a drive coming up for
Oh,
the
yeah,
4th of
you
July.
do.
This
Yeah.
coming
Oh,
weekend.
man.
well,
so,
I'll be honest, the length of this episode might be the length of that drive.
So
Hey, our first Star Wars episode was at the time the longest episode you guys had done.
Oh.
Yeah,
So
it was.
Oh. But
it's paltry
uh,
now.
I would say mostly through video games, and we actually worked a summer together at Utilimaster. We were getting the Bristol plant ready for a move from Wakarusa to Bristol, and Nick and I know the color safety yellow and safety red really well. And if you need any tape peeled off with a scraper, Nick's your man. Or you need him to chauffeur you around in a golf cart all day and not do any work, Nick's your man.
the best guy to have around.
this is true.
It's true.
Yeah.
I can drive the golf cart around, but I do need someone to tell me where to drive. So I do need the lead in the front seat.
So, okay, I have a question. Sorry, so you guys worked for Utilimaster during the move?
Yeah, when they were moving from Wakarusa to Bristol, we were in charge of getting the Bristol plant ready.
Did you guys interact with Steve Koenig, the plant manager? Do you remember him?
Steve Koenig, I
don't think we did.
I think I know who he is. So my dad, he ran production there. He was
I didn't know that. So like my boss at Diggers,
Yeah.
I didn't realize you guys had technically worked for him at one time, kind of.
Yeah, probably. I bet.
Okay.
I mean,
Okay.
I'd be real honest, Gunnar. Didn't you talk to him one time and said
That was
somehow
Chad. That was
Chad?
Yeah.
Okay, because I think there's a couple of you guys that ended up at Diggers.
Yeah.
So yeah, my dad, he was in charge of all of production there. Like he's the scary one. You see him walking around, everybody finds a broom or something, or
have
looks
those, yeah.
busy.
Yeah.
And yeah. And I remember first couple days working there, and I was talking to my dad, and people are like, "How do you know that guy?" He's like, "Well, he's my dad." And they're like, "Oh man, yeah, he's tough." I was like, "Yeah, you only get him for 8 hours a day. I get him the rest of the
Yeah.
time."
Yeah, I get the complete opposite. I get, how do you know Colton Keel? Because I know Colton's dad. So it's always like, how do you know Colton Keel? Well, I do a podcast with him. And they're like, we know Bill.
Everybody
Okay,
knows my
everybody
dad.
knows.
Yeah, you guys-
Everybody knows.
You guys
him.
talked about that in the last podcast. I
Yeah,
think.
yeah, probably a couple times actually. But yeah, I'm just happy you guys are both here. I'm happy to get into talking about some of the.
Well,
Obi-Wan
when did
Kenobi
you
show.
and Nick? Yeah,
When did
'cause-
I? Oh yeah, Nick.
yeah,
Sorry, I
we
skipped
got-
over.
It
We-
just-
of
I mean, no,
course-
whatever. Whatever.
Of course, we
you
go
got it.
off topic.
Yeah.
The real question, but
Yeah.
how do you know Nick?
Get me lost. Well, we all went to high school together. That's the main thing. I know Nick as a runner and Ball State. You can do the chirp all you want.
Sure.
But really, like the most time I really got to spend with Nick was at Ball State because him and Lucas lived together in the run clubhouse, and they were always throwing crazy parties, so it was always going over there having a good time.
Never.
Never had
Never.
parties ever.
Never.
It was.
I think I
always
was over there. I
club.
think I was over there for one.
You were over there
Yeah.
for one or two, I think.
Yeah, it was something like that. I can't remember.
So I feel like I've known Nick for a long time just because of high school, but yeah, I didn't really get to know him until we got into Ball State, and he was there for. What did you graduate? What year did you graduate?
2012.
And then Ball State.
2012, and then so that was Triton, and then 2016 at Ball State, 2018 for Masters.
Gotcha. So you graduated technically the same year.
Would have graduated the same year you and Lucas did.
Yeah, if Lucas would have graduated the same year.
That's true. That's true. Sorry.
Come on, he doesn't listen to this no more.
He quit out. He gave up on us because everybody throws.
We gave him the Emperor gave him crap one time.
Yeah.
And ever since
shoot.
then,
For real.
Yeah.
That's a real thing.
that's a real story.
Yeah. Lucas.
Well-
Lucas. Hey, we love you.
Hey.
Buddy.
Hey, we do love you. Please
Yeah.
come back. We miss you.
Yeah. Listen to our podcast. Your wife listens. I know she watches
That's
on
true.
YouTube. She watched at 1 a.m. last week when it came out on YouTube. She's like, I couldn't sleep, and I was like, I want to watch the Call Guys. So we got some avid listeners out there.
Good on it.
Yeah.
Listen,
Good stuff.
Listeners.
So yeah.
I actually, a fun story. I met Nick on the Call Guys podcast. It turned out we were really big Star Wars fans. We hit it off really well, actually, and we still talk today. It's cool. We kept in touch.
This is future Chris talking.
I'm a time traveler. That's why Gunnar likes me.
oh, there it is.
Fuel the DeLorean, baby. Let's go.
See, you said we became good friends after that podcast, but we're gonna see how well our varying points of view are gonna mix here, and it might be good friends or it might
You know
not be good
Well,
friends.
here's the thing. Even if we remove Kenobi, I know that you like Rebels,
Yeah.
right? And I really like Rebels.
Now I heard from anonymous source that you just finished Rebels. So yeah.
I like it.
This is great. This is great. We're doing great.
So yeah,
We're
so we're scrapping Kenobi for today's episode.
Of
We're gonna let
Rebels.
these two talk about
Star Wars
this.
Rebels.
I'm
and-
gonna drive home to Colton's house, have a beer, and watch you guys talk, and we'll be good.
Oh man. I was gonna have a beer until my bank shut off my debit card.
What happened there? Please tell us what happened.
Well, the funny thing is, when this happened, just to preface the story, I texted Gunnar and I was like, "Oh man, I didn't get to get any of the stuff I needed. I just needed a few things for being down here that
Ice cream.
Well, that was okay. So here's the thing. I'm going to be candid because that's who I am. My deodorant literally ran out the morning I was packing my bag to leave, and I was like, "Oh,
Rough.
I'm going to need to pick up some deodorant." So I was like, "Oh, I'll run down there." And then I was like, "Maybe, man, I've really been wanting ice cream." And I walked in this grocery store by our hotel, and I was like, "There is a lot of alcohol in this, they have like a liquor store's worth of like craft beer and wine in like the entry." and they have like a register that just says, because they have some like food court kind of spots in the door side on where the hotel is, and it literally the signs like food and alcohol purchases only, like for the checkout. But anyway, so I was looking around, and Gunnar had told me to keep an eye out for some stuff, and I found it. And I called him and I was like, "Dude, I just saw this stout. I like stouts. I like a lot of different beers. I'm not a big IPA drinker. I'm trying to drink some here and there with Gunnar, but I do."
There it is.
Double IPA.
That's right.
But I do like stouts a lot. And I saw one that literally was like, it said ice cream stout. And I was like, I was going to get ice cream. And
It's the best of both worlds.
And I was like, then I could drink beer and have ice cream. And it said like vanilla, peanut butter, chocolate. I was like, oh, that sounds good. And I was like, Gunnar's, for those of you who don't know, Gunnar's birthday is tomorrow.
Which this is July 4th, so it was 4 days ago.
So it was actually a few days ago. Tomorrow being the day that we're recording, today to tomorrow. But anyway, so I was thinking, hey, I'm going to pick up this beer for Gunnar, he's gonna and be like, hey, early birthday present, you know. And I grab like my deodorant and stuff, and I go to the checkout and I swipe my card, and it's like it said I don't even remember what it said, but I was like, oh, that's not good. So I tried again, and it was like, you have to use a different card. And I was like, well, I guess I'm not getting anything now. Because it was like right before we were going to start this. And I was going to surprise him, bring the chilled beer back and have him be able to drink one. But I mean, he still has one, obviously. But
Jared, if you're listening, it was Chesterfield.
Yeah, it was. They had all the England there.
Yeah.
But the other day I actually got a text from my bank, and it was like, are these 3 purchases fraudulent? And I text back, no, because it said Y for yes, N for no. And I put N. And I checked my phone after it was canceled, and I had a reply text that said, please contact the bank because we feel like your card is fraudulent. And we're going to shut it off. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. I'm out of state and just wanted some deodorant beer. Oh, man. But yeah.
Sorry, Chris.
Yeah, it's okay.
So the real question is what are you going to do for deodorant the rest of the week?
Well, I'm going to see if Gunnar will let me use this tomorrow, probably. Because that's what real friends do, right?
I feel like
Right.
Nick probably
No.
has experience with that, and probably like run club. And,
Like anybody who's
and
played
using people's
sports or
deodorant.
something, like, I mean, like it happens. And even like, I'm going to tell you right now, the women at the factory, like if one of them doesn't, like if they start smelling, they'll go to somebody they know keeps one in their purse and be like, hey, can I borrow your deodorant?
Yeah.
So it's like, you got to have people's backs, right? It's not like you put it on when you're already sweaty. Like I shower in the morning. I hit it on, like I'm clean at the moment. It's not,
That's a good point. It's a
you
good
know what I
point.
mean?
Yeah,
You're not,
sure,
I'm not slapping it on after the day of work.
Good point. Good point.
But
Now, if your card, let's just say it would have let you pick up one item, would you have gotten the deodorant, or would you have gotten the beer?
Oh, wow. Great question. Nick.
actually-
Great question.
This is
Actually,
why I'm here.
I would have totally gotten the deodorant because the 2-pack here costs several dollars less than the one back home for some reason. And I was like, okay, I would have bought the deodorant because I would have saved a couple bucks by the time I got home. I'm
Probably
cheap, man.
We're making financial
Yeah.
decisions.
Yeah, man. We had already agreed to go back tomorrow, so we could load up on the stuff that isn't back home. So
Nice.
We're pulling a trailer home, so it might be loaded with beer.
It's just gonna be loaded down.
we get back to Diggers and open the pack, and it's all
Beer everywhere.
Oh
no.
man, I just
That's-
wanted a 4-pack of stout. But it's
All
okay.
right, so
I have coffee.
yeah, coffee's always good. Coffee's always good.
Yeah, they had espresso stout there too.
We could talk about beer all day, and I think
that would be a good episode for you guys. That would be a good future episode, don't you
Colton's
think?
going to talk about freaking Guinness.
Guinness.
Dude, I mean, there's a world of stouts out there though, man. Like,
Yeah, it's true. True. All right, so before we get into what we are going to talk about today, I want to do a question of the pod.
Oh,
'Cause we did-
what?
When did we miss that 2 episodes ago, or was that?
Well, I think the last time was
Yeah.
I remember doing one for not Stranger Things, but for Doctor Strange.
Yeah, that's right. So, you ready for the question of the pod?
I'm always ready, brother.
If there was a celebrity that you could meet, living or dead, who would it be, and why?
oh,
Chris, lead us off.
well, when you say celebrity, do you just mean like anybody whose
Famous
name
person.
is known?
Yeah, famous person.
So, I've thought about this, and like, there's a lot of answers you could give.
Yeah.
But honestly, I really like C.S. Lewis. I really like a lot of the stuff he's written. I think he was brilliant, and I would genuinely like to have a conversation with him. He has an interesting life story, and just like his theology that he came up with, it's mind-boggling sometimes. So I think it'd be interesting to get to talk to him.
That's a good one.
That is a good one.
Nick, what you got?
Yeah, I would actually give a similar answer because these two people were actually friends and bounced some ideas off each other. I would go with Tolkien.
Oh, geez, man. I think we're gonna be best friends. I have Anduril hanging on my bedroom wall.
Well, I mean, I would pick Tolkien because I mean, just the books that were published and the movies that were made, just those in themselves are great storylines, and there's a lot of depth to them. But there's so much more that he had planned, or even just made up to coincide with all of that. I mean, he had backstories on backstories on backstories, and he had this whole universe created that like isn't even shown in these movies. There's just so much that goes into it. And like you said, the theology that C.S. Lewis had created, I mean, it's just so in depth. Just some of the stuff that he did. I would love to sit on a podcast with him and just like talk for hours. Like, why would you do this? Or how did you come up with this idea? And just hear some of those things, or even just let him talk for, just a couple hours and just see what he has to say.
Just rake it in.
Yeah. That would be great. Or sit on a podcast with both of them and listen to that, because that could be pretty good too.
Hey, before you guys share yours, I have to. Are we all Lord of the Rings fans? We're all Lord of the Rings fans, right? Yeah. I recently actually heard an interview with Tolkien that like popped up in a feed, and they asked him in an interview, like, this isn't a new question. They were like, why didn't the Eagles fly the Fellowship to Mount Doom? And I know people say that, and Tolkien was literally like, because there wouldn't have been a story, so that's bloody why.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
And it was literally like, yeah, they could have, but that would have been dumb, because then the story would have been over.
I feel like that's
it's the simplest answer.
I feel like that's one of those like English lit professor questions. Like, let's get really in depth with this. Why would Tolkien not write that the Eagles could just fly the ring, and give me an 8-page essay on that? And the author's answer, well, because that's the decision that I made, so deal with it.
8 pages, 1 word per page. That's my,
because I made the decision.
I made. That's good. So we got a couple of bookies, Colton. We got a couple of bookies. What you got?
Nerds. I think
that's why we were invited to the podcast, though.
You are, because here is a real call, guys. Here's a real call, guys. Answer. I'd probably pick Chris Farley.
Oh, see, that's good.
I would go with Chris Farley just for cool. a night of laughs, and as off the walls as he was, whether it be chemically induced or not, I think that would be just a great time. And I would go with Chris Farley.
That's good. I'm gonna go with Dave Grohl, because I'm a huge Foo Fighters fan, and he just seems like he's one of those down-to-earth guys, super smart, really good drummer. Plus, him being a drummer is also a big reason I would choose him, obviously. But he just seems like one of those guys that can just like talk you down, just like chill, relax back, just like, hey man, it's all good. It's all good. Why don't we just hang out, jam, play some guitar, play some drums, just hang out. So Dave Grohl's always been one of those guys that influenced me to be a drummer. And I feel like he'd be one that I'd really like to just sit down, like Nick said, on a podcast for hours and just talk to him, because he just seems like a really cool dude.
I thought you were gonna pick like the person who invented the movie camera or something. Only because I know how much you like film. Like,
I want to talk to the guy that invented the toilet.
What?
That could be an interesting conversation, but I feel like that's one of those questions that Chris just answered. Why did you invent the toilet? Because it's better. It was better than the bucket that I was using.
Yeah, we sat in public lines in the open and pooped into moving water. Hey, Romans, man, they were pretty advanced, like legit.
And I'm sure they had certain channels that took it to a certain spot.
It was
like, it's all smart.
Better
all
than
good.
throwing out windows in the Middle Ages.
So, since it is the 4th of July, also on top of the question of the podcast,
that's great.
I want to just do a little a little 4th of July question too, on top of the question of the pod. So what do you guys have any traditions for the 4th of July? Do you do anything every single year?
We used to. Back at the house, we used to do our own little fireworks show.
Mm-hmm.
And when I mean fireworks show, we'd go to Crazy Joe's and we'd probably get, I'm going to say, anywhere from 15 to 20 mortar boxes with shells. And we would literally take 2x4s, and we had 2 ladders, and we would screw the canisters for the mortars into the wood, and then we would set the wood on the ladders like scaffolding. Okay. So then what we would do, I would pretty much spend all afternoon untangling the fuses, and so that way I could just walk up, put it in, and have the fuse out, because they come all wrapped up a little bit, and they're kind of a pain to deal with, especially if you were doing it at night and you needed a light. Like, so I do all this prep work, and then I had a blowtorch, and I would just drop these in, torch it, and go up. So every once in a while, I think the most at one point in time was like 8 mortar shells, like 8 tubes going. And I'm telling you, I put my own fireworks show on, and the worst thing ever, you'd light them all, and then you'd realize you didn't get the second one, and you'd go back, and as you're going back to get that second one, the first one, cool, the third one, two, the fourth, and they just all go off, and I'm just standing there with the blowtorch, just like, just light. I want them all. I want them all at once.
Oh no.
So yeah, we used to do our own little fireworks show.
Yeah, we had a similar thing. My parents, in their backyard on the 4th, we'd have people camp out. They have 5 acres and a pond, so we'd have everybody bring their tents, their campers, whatever, do breakfast in the morning. And then if it fell on a Saturday, we'd do even more. If it fell on a Sunday, maybe a little less, depending on what day you had off that weekend. And yeah, we would have fireworks shows. We'd do stupid things with fireworks, which we had talked about a little bit today with sparkler bombs. I know a lot of people make those.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, so we just always have a good time, and yeah.
I'll follow that up with, we used to have, when I was younger, my mom is one of 7. And so, like, huge family, tons and tons of cousins. And so we used to have like a big camp out at my aunt and uncle's house, and they had 3 acres, and people would bring tents and campers and stuff.
Yeah.
And it would start, like, depending where the 4th fell, usually it lasted, part of the week and some of the weekend. And we'd have like a big family camp out. Now, like this 4th of July, what would be the day this podcast is out, I will be with my mom and dad and my sister and brother-in-law, and our family's just gonna get together, have a little cookout.
Nice.
Let the kids play and
Nice.
stuff.
That's fun.
Yeah, when this podcast airs, I will actually be on my way home from Iowa. So my family, for the last, I think 40-ish years, we have had a golf tournament for my dad's side of the family. So we go over to Iowa, where his mom is originally from, and her sisters, in this tournament was all based around the 3 of them, and started out small as 2-somes, and it's gone to 4-somes, and we go over there every year for the 4th of July, and we do a big family scramble tournament, and it's about the only time that I see almost all of those family members each year. So that's pretty cool that it's been going on for that long, but that we get together with pretty extended family, actually, and just be able to see each other, spend the weekend together, and just experience that.
That's awesome.
That's like, that's like a family reunion almost then. Like,
it is definitely a family reunion.
That's cool. That's really cool.
It's changed slightly in the last few years. So all 3 grandmas have passed away now. So the location has changed to kind of better fit the local people. So we're actually in Sloan, Iowa now, where we used to be in Gowrie, Iowa. Sloan is closer to some other family members, so it's just a little bit, location wise, it's a little bit easier. But where we used to have the night before where we would decide on the teams. We would go to Des Moines and stay at a hotel and choose teams there. Now we actually go to there. It's the gun club, and we all get together, and it's just kind of a big family reunion kind of thing. Just catch up, decide teams, then we all go to the local bar and spend too long there to get up the next morning really early and play 18 holes of golf.
So that's how you give, like, the best golfers have the biggest handicaps that way, right? Like they stay the longest at the bar.
I remember one particular year, one specific golfer who is very good. Well, actually, two of them came back that night and they were not doing well at all. And then the following morning, they were not doing well at all. And then one of them proceeded to win the tournament with his team.
Oh, well. And you're like, dang it, we thought we had him.
I'm just like, all right, I'm 0 for, let's see, this is 2012. I think I'm 0 for 12 tournaments. So,
but how many teams play? Like when you split up? Like, I mean, there's only one winner, so
it varies a little bit. I would say the least amount of teams I think I've played with is 4 or 5, and the most amount of teams I've played with is probably like 9 or 10.
Oh, I mean,
so
Dang.
yeah, so don't feel bad. It's okay.
Yeah, we're talking 24 to 32 people ish, give or take.
It's cool.
It's a lot of people playing golf.
A lot of people playing golf.
Nice. That's an awesome tradition.
That is cool. It's specifically because of how it's tied to your family and how you guys do that. Like, it's like a legacy thing. That's really cool. Just like Star Wars. It's always a legacy with family.
Chris is the Segway champion.
It was unplanned, but when I said it, I was like, oh, we talked about that last time.
All right.
Let's get into it. Talk about it last time.
Yeah, we did. But let's get into it. I'm actually going to take my headphones off and leave this podcast because my eardrums are going to blow because Colton's going to be yelling this whole time, I'm sure.
Kenobi's is
not the whole time.
Okay, maybe not the whole
He's
time.
going to be like that one scene in the 6th episode.
That's right.
Was the best
with that
scene
because
with that one guy.
Okay.
He's in the cloak.
What kind of spoil before we get started here, what kind of spoilers are we worried about?
We're
I'm
full.
Not worried, right?
We do full spoilers.
Yeah, okay,
like,
good. All right.
This is your spoiler warning.
Yes, thank you, Chris. I was just getting ready to give it. I was going to say, if you
have
not watched Kenobi,
all of Kenobi, please stop the podcast now.
I just want you to know, I'm clipping that audio right there. That was
this
beautiful.
is your spoiler warning. Stop. Go watch the show or movie that's being discussed, and then come back to the call, guys.
Yep.
I don't have timestamps, so
That's
sorry
okay.
about that.
Chris, you have
Figured
a beautiful
out.
voiceover voice.
So I used to work at McDonald's, and I'd be like, "Welcome to McDonald's. How can I help you?" And every time I worked, somebody'd come through drive-thru and be like, usually it's like a little old lady or something, right? And she's like, "You have a beautiful voice. You should be on the radio."
What kind of voice was that?
You'd be surprised the kind of people that would come through, man.
Yeah, it's the old lady.
I could do a different one.
Sonny?
What's up, Sonny?
It sounds like her husband.
How are you? You ever been on that Call Guys podcast?
Actually, yes, I've been on that twice.
Listen, on the 4th of July.
All right, let's do it. Colton, do you have anything you want to start with?
I definitely.
Chris, do you have anything you want to start with?
I think we should kind of start from the beginning, though, right? Like, I think we should kind of move through the show. And we know, Colton, do you want to get a little bit of it just out right now?
I feel like he needs to get something off his chest. Just get it out.
Or should we kind of like?
No, let him do it.
No,
just
let's
let him
do it. Let's do it.
Okay, I'll be right back.
We all just put it down and walk away.
It's just me rambling, just looking down into my microphone, just getting louder and louder and louder.
Let's not do that, dude. Clip it.
I feel like he's got notes over there probably too. Like, I've got to talk about this.
It's just gonna say, "I would die on this hill."
All right. So I'm probably going to be the most negative on this series. I don't like the storyline. I don't like how they portrayed Kenobi. I don't like this series. In my opinion, this is the first series that Disney has missed on. And I know they made Boba Fett or
Did you
Mandalorian
watch
Part 2.5.
Falcon and Winter Soldier?
Yes, I did. Here's my issue, Chris. This is my problem. Is that I
It's
didn't
not
have
Marvel.
I didn't no.
It's not DC.
Sorry.
Fighting words. Okay, come on. Tighten up.
No, for
Tighten up.
real.
I didn't have great expectations for Falcon and Winter Soldier. I had no expectations for Boba Fett. I had
High expectations for Obi-Wan.
an unlimited high expectations for Kenobi because I said it before, Kenobi is my favorite. He is the one that I grew up with, and they just portray. I do not like the way they portrayed him. The storyline was awful, and
Did you forget Skywalker's motto? The motto of Skywalker?
I must have.
You did. Go in with low expectations.
I just feel like
I can't do that.
I feel like
can't do
Nick's
that.
tongue is bleeding from the look on his face.
Oh yeah, Nick
He's like,
and I we have already somewhat discussed our takes on this. I don't care about the storyline of the Inquisitors. I don't care about Leia or Luke. I don't
Do you mean
care
because of the way they did it, or you just don't care in general?
how they did it.
Okay.
My
Okay.
problem is that it's called Kenobi. Leia. No. It's called Exquisitors, right?
Exquisite.
Inquisitor.
Exactly.
Hey.
Exactly.
That's how I felt about you mentioned the live action Aladdin in the other episode, and
Yeah.
that's literally how I felt. I was like, why didn't they just call it Jasmine? Like
Like, if they're
like,
gonna
really?
make it Kenobi, make it about Kenobi.
I have so much to say.
The last
Okay,
the last two
listeners.
no, shut your mouth.
Listeners,
over
watch
there.
on YouTube. Watch his face.
I have so much to say.
The last two episodes
Oh man.
take
He
out
left.
and
Gunner left.
take half of episode 4. Those were the best parts about that series. And I just hit my mic. I hope that doesn't.
Did you say episode 4 was the best part about this?
No. Half of episode 4. You take some of episode 4.
The one where they sneak into the base?
Hold on. There's some. I did not say all of it. I said some.
Okay.
And you take 5 and 6. That's what the show should have been about. It should have been about Vader and Kenobi. It should have been about Kenobi eluding from the Exquisitors. I'm just going to keep saying it wrong. But they didn't do that. For some reason, they added this stupid storyline of Luke and Leia and Owen, because nobody cares about Owen. He literally is, and I don't mean this lightly. He literally is a throwaway character.
He's just a dirty old farmer on the desert of Tatooine. He don't need to be in no show.
Yeah, he's just. We don't need him. There's so much more they could do. Much more they could do.
Wait, Nick.
what
I
were
know that you're. Hold on, real quick, because I feel. Hold on, just real quick. I do really like that the ringer that you brought in is the polar opposite opinion of you.
Yes.
but oh, now I just. Oh. But anyway, go ahead. No, never mind. That might have been what I was going to say. Go ahead.
That was my problem. Is the storyline threw me off too quick, and the plot just sucked. Sorry, Nick. It sucked.
Nick, go.
What were?
I feel like you and I could
a light question, just a real quick light question.
Okay.
What were your expectations from the end of episode 3? With Anakin getting 3 of his limbs cut off, the only limb remaining was a mechanical arm, to episode 4, where Kenobi is Now Ben Kenobi, grizzled man, he's got a lightsaber. What were your expectations from point A to point B to get there? Like, what were you expecting?
That Kenobi would be fighting off people who were looking for him and or helping out other Jedi who were finding that they were force sensitive, and he was helping those people. What's the laughing for?
Have you seen
No,
Rebels?
no.
Then are you even qualified to
Okay,
be here?
hold on.
That's
will-
not.
Okay. I am going to disagree with something Gunnar said on the last podcast. and that's when he said that you
The
should
last
watch
podcast is musicals.
well, but they talked about Rebels and Clone Wars.
Okay, all right.
He specifically said that Colton should watch Clone Wars and Rebels with his son. And I would say Rebels until it gets intense, maybe later. But I actually don't think Clone Wars is very kid friendly most of the time. I would wait.
Okay, well that's good.
They
That's
literally,
good to know.
They literally go to like the seedy underbelly, of course, and there's like strippers and stuff.
Good to know.
Like,
William
that a
needs
few
to
times.
see this.
it's like
They do that a few
it's-
times.
yeah, like it's a lot more. I don't know, and like the morality and some of the philosophy behind it's a lot deeper than a kids show overall. Not that kids couldn't enjoy it, but yeah, but since I know Nick is, I'm just gonna say that I actually think the way that we're arranged right now. Can I spoil Gunner's opinion a little bit? Do you mind?
Yeah, go for it.
I think it actually goes Colton and then me and then Gunner and then Nick.
Agree. Yeah.
So and that's not because
That's
like
for you,
my
Nick.
Watch
Okay.
this on
Remember, you're
YouTube.
I feel like Colton just went, Chris is in my corner and Nick's in Gunner's.
We're swapping ringers.
We're just swapping rings. No, and I'll explain my opinions as we kind of go through the episodes because I feel like this is going to go really long depending how we do this.
Quick preface. Colton brought me in for general as a ringer for general Star Wars knowledge,
Yeah.
not for Kenobi.
Oh, that's
Because
true.
we already knew we did not agree on Kenobi.
But so Rebels has an episode that has Ben Kenobi, as you know,
Mhm.
Nick. And it's probably honestly one of the coolest episodes in the whole series, in my opinion. And for a lot of people, when Kenobi was coming out as a show, there was a lot of buzz online about like, oh, maybe he'll come meet up with Darth Maul again and stuff. And I'm like, he does that in Rebels. But sorry, that's actually a big
You
spoiler.
can't. I
That
mean,
was a big
we don't
spoiler.
do spoilers for stuff.
We don't. Yeah, you're good.
I know. But for people who watch Rebels, like it's really cool. And knowing it's coming doesn't ruin it. It's a really masterfully done sequence. And I feel like, to me, that one episode of the animated series was better than all of Kenobi as a show, because of what it did. Like,
I've
so
never seen it. He's
um
clapping.
so
He doesn't even, all he knows is what I have told him about the episode
It's
on
so true.
our sound check last.
It's so
That's all he
true.
knows. That's all
That
he
is
knows.
so true.
so but anyway, not to say I actually thought, while I say that I wasn't a huge fan of Kenobi, that actually stems more from I'm a writer, I guess.
Mhm,
Like
yeah.
not
You have a book.
it's
sort of.
not published, but as a writer, I spend a lot of time reading books on writing and storytelling and different things. And I do think there was some huge fundamental flaws with the show, with the way they told story. And I think that some of the cinematography was kind of bad. Some of the like directing choices were odd. And I'll point those out when we kind of just briefly touch on each episode.
Can I mention one of those
Is
right
it
off
the
the bat?
is it
There's all this stuff. So in that first fight between him and I'm gonna call him Anakin, because Vader at this point is still pretty
you're
much
talking about when
Anakin.
in episode 3?
When they
part
first
3.
meet up. Yeah.
Okay.
There's a lot of like really jaunting like first person things, and then seeing all the stuff where the camera's not really still. It's
Yeah.
a lot of movement, and you're right in their face.
It's also hard to tell spatial awareness because there's like
Yeah.
a part where it looks like Kenobi runs away from him really like like slowly, like, oh no, he's
It's
coming
horror.
to get me.
It's like horror.
And it looks like he
film-ish.
like ran 10 feet away, and then Vader's like there, and
Yeah.
it's like, where was he going?
Yeah,
Like,
it's very-
what was going?
it's got
It was
that-
just kind of odd.
It's that Michael Myers following you.
And
type thing.
but it was
it
those
is very
things.
like trying to run away. Horror
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah. So like, and I actually think the premise of having like, because all of the best parts, I think what all four of us will agree on is that all of the best parts of Kenobi tended to center on Vader and or moments with Vader and Kenobi, like what we would say were the best moments. I think that there's a lot of good there, and there was a lot of good idea. And the premise, okay, so like we can really get into like the third sister Reva stuff, whatever.
Oh, we will.
But here's the thing. The premise, if you were in an elevator with a producer and you said, hey, what if we did a show about these people that hunt Jedi that used to be Jedi, and one of them was a youngling that survived Anakin's attack on the temple, and she becomes one of the hunters to try to get close to him and assassinate him. Like, that log line sounds awesome. It does. I just feel like the execution of it was just super lacking in the show.
Well,
but I love the idea.
I
Like, the
felt
idea
she
was
just
cool.
pointless in the aspect that like everything she did
Ultimately
help
amounted
the
to nothing.
story.
Like,
yeah.
like in the
Yeah.
end, technically, she's like that whole like discussion on like, if you take Indiana Jones out of Raiders of the Lost Ark, the movie would still happen or whatever. But Raiders of the Lost Ark is masterfully shot, and it's like an engaging story though about Indiana Jones. It's about him, and so like as a character, and so like, but this wasn't about Reva, like, and you could take her out and you basically still would have gotten Kenobi, like as the show was. And there, but yeah. So anyway, I'm gonna stop now, so we can continue. But I really want to just have Nick, if he wants to say
I want to
just a little bit.
I want to hear Nick's your overall.
Yeah, Nick,
thoughts.
defend this
Like-
crap.
like,
I'm-
I
My
want us
overall
to-
thought.
Yeah, like, because obviously we want to like kind of just touch. I figure we'll go, okay, episode 1, what were your thoughts? Episode 2, maybe, or like a quick rundown or something, right? Maybe.
we just need
Maybe
to
like
tell Nick
episode
that he's
1 through
wrong
3
in
or
everything he's
Okay.
getting ready to say.
Okay. I know, because it'll be like
So the first 2 to 3 episodes, I would agree with Colton, and we even talked about this on the phone. It's slow start. What is going on? But once you get through all 6 and together put them in a whole series, it makes much more sense. I think they did a great job of going from the Kenobi leaving Anakin on Mustafar to where he began, basically giving up on the Jedi because of how he felt leaving his Padawan to die, thinking he killed him, to now he has to go save Leia, and he can't use any of the training that he has, been learning all of his life, because he has given that up in this thought process of, I killed Anakin and I'm separating myself from everything involved with that, to the last episodes of him slowly coming together, getting the Force back within himself, confronting Vader, and getting to a point where he realizes now he's not the one that killed Anakin. Vader killed Anakin, and he is still Obi-Wan Kenobi and not Ben Kenobi. So I think they did a great job going from the very beginning of him being just kind of a mess in his own mind to understanding where he still is placed in the world as a Jedi. And I think that comes around even at the very, very end of the last episode, where Qui-Gon now appears to him to bring him into the next steps of his journey. So I think as a whole, it did a great job. But when I watched episode 1 and then 2 and then 3, I was like, all right, where are we going? This is really slow. And I would have agreed with Colton, like, there's a lot going on here with Leia, and Kenobi's just kind of a washed up has-been.
Yeah,
So
my
I
synopsis
kind
in
of agree.
episode 2 is,
I think Nick's opinion actually would. I've seen a lot of people say after they've watched the whole series, they were like, "Oh, it fixed everything I didn't like about it." I've actually seen a lot of people saying that. Like I said, I can't get over like some of the if you, I know it's about Star Wars, but if you separate it from Star Wars and look at it as just like piece, like a directed piece, that's where I start running. Like those are the problems.
Yeah,
that
that's
I run into
yeah.
anymore. But like as a Star Wars fan, there are parts in it where I was like, oh, that was so cool.
Yeah, and that kind of, and I've talked about it before. You just, and mostly with Spider-Man No Way Home, is you cannot rely on nostalgia to get you to make a movie great or make a show great. Because if you do that, you're setting yourself up for failure. Because the writing's gonna suck, the story's gonna suck, and the only thing you're really holding out for is the fight with Kenobi and Vader.
Okay, so I told Colton and I told Chris that when this show started, the first thing I said to Chris was, Obi-Wan is going to be apart from the Force. Like, that's going to be the whole premise of the show. And Chris was like, you really think so? And I was like, yeah, I think that's kind of where this is going to go. He's not going to be able to use it to the abilities that he has before. And then I also said, all I want to see is Force Ghost Qui-Gon Jinn. That's all I care about. And they did it.
And I literally
I love this show.
I literally he didn't watch it when it came out. And I was like, you didn't watch? Because I knew what happened and I was going to talk to him the next day. I was like, I started talking and then he's like, I didn't watch it. And I was like,
cool.
I was like, okay, good to know. I'm glad I didn't start with something else.
I'm glad you did too.
And then because then that next day he found time to watch it and I get a text message. He's like, Qui-Gon. He's like, they did it. Like, oh, they did it. And I was like, I know, I almost spoiled that for you.
That's awesome.
I almost walked to the water cooler and went, so you got your wish.
But I do.
Hello there.
I do want to say that
Hello.
I agree with the first 3 episodes. Everything with Reva, everything with Leia was just kind of like, why is this all happening? Why are we not seeing Kenobi through all of this? And then they bring the whole thing where it's kind of that heist type deal. And Chris has some, I mean, I've seen it in some videos too, your theories on each episode has something from a movie. And that was kind of
how they mirror episodes 1 through 3
quite a bit.
I mean 1 through 6.
Yeah. So it's like watching it as an aspect of like seeing all these characters and knowing the show's called Kenobi and not really understanding what they're doing. And then once they got 4, 5, and 6, I was like, yeah, this show's pretty good. I wouldn't say it's not better, or it is better than Boba, but I would not.
Boba Fett ended up being like
Mandalorian 2.5.
Yes,
that's what I call it. It is.
That's all it is.
But because there were things that I enjoyed in the show. My wife, who isn't a big Star Wars fan, like I said last time, she enjoys Star Wars though. She watched Rebels with me, and she really enjoyed it. She was super upset at a couple parts, and cried. And I think we both might have cried at one part, but I'm not going to spoil that. For
Was
anybody.
it your number 2?
I'm not. But dude, but I even though Boba Fett was flawed, and it became Mando season 2.5, and there are definitely some hiccups with that show for sure.
Mm-hmm.
My wife was heckling Kenobi as we watched it.
Yes.
like so we both kind of were at times. We were like, why would they do that? Like, that doesn't make it. The problem is they break like string of logic and like character motivation. Like, that's the problem when it, like, the core storytelling sometimes will say, well, this is what would make sense and this is what the character would do, but we need this for the plot. And that's not good storytelling. And they do it like almost every episode. To the point where, like, I know that if my wife is like lampooning the show, she's just like, I know that it's probably got some problems as well.
Can you explain your theory?
The episode thing?
Yeah, I thought.
Okay,
really cool.
So when I first started watching it, I told Gunnar that I was like, oh man, it seems like they're actually. I noticed that they named it like part 1, part 2, part 3. So I was like, okay, that's kind of like the way, like, just titling Star Wars stuff.
Yeah.
Although I really hate that if you look at episode 6 synopsis, like the little synopsis that describes the episode, it literally says the exciting conclusion and confrontation. And I'm like, wow, that's lazy. I'm like, wow, that's just like, they pulled it right out of, like, it's like a placeholder and they just left it. So I said, man, it seems like they're actually taking some ideas for each episode from each of the Star Wars episodes. So like in one, you know, if you mirror it, man, I should have written them down
You should
because
have,
it's
but
been a
you'll remember
while.
them. You'll get them.
But you know, you have a princess that gets captured, and technically that's what happens when Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan show up. They save Amidala. She's been captured. And like you have that moment in episode 1. There was something else that I brought up originally. They did a couple things that actually you see Luke like fake pod racing, and I was like, oh, that's a reference to episode 1 as well. And then there was another one or two, but I can't think of them, and I'm not going to stall out on that. But so episode 2, I was like, oh, you know, they do a big chase scene in Coruscant across the cars and rooftops to try to stop the assassin for Amidala, and for Padme. And so like they have a big chase to try to, you know, that they're fighting off bounty hunters and assassins and that. And I was just kind of like, oh, that's kind of interesting. And I think there might have been one other one for that episode too. And then in 3, you had the confrontation between Obi-Wan and Anakin, and you had somebody getting dragged through fire. And then for 4, I brought up that it's basically the idea of A New Hope. You're like, oh, Princess Leia has been abducted and being kept on a big secret station that Obi-Wan actually goes to help liberate her from.
You're not wrong.
Like straight up A New Hope, man.
Even so much with like the disguises that they had to wear.
Yeah,
they had to don, you know, the stormtrooper helmet or like the officers. Yeah.
And like you have a lot of comlink talk in that episode, which is comical. Don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious. But I mean that, you know, that's all like A New Hope. We see a lot of that. Then in episode 5, they're in a hidden rebel base that gets attacked and stormed by stormtroopers and Vader as they escape, which is what happens on Hoth.
The opening scene.
And then for 6, you have a big final confrontation between like Obi-Wan gives himself up just the way Luke did to confront Vader and to bring Vader out, and tries to appeal to him the way that Luke did. And then you see the Emperor, which is also a big focus of episode 6. And then you also end with a Force Ghost, which is how Return of the Jedi ends. Like, I was like, man, I feel like they were like, I almost wondered if when they wrote it, they kind of like intentionally tried to like weave it in.
The writing is so shitty in this show, but it's so
I was
good
like,
because
I literally told him, I was like, man, the writing and the way it was shot is not very good. But if I found out they intentionally tried to mirror the first 6 episodes of the movies, I'm like, I would still give them some props for that, man, because they do. And I don't know if I'm just like looking for those things, but it seems really weird that like those main things are like in them. Yeah. But anyway,
I want to reference our Eagles of Mordor or Eagles.
Come on, Nick.
Eagles to Mordor.
Eagles to Mordor conversation earlier. They wrote it because they wrote it.
Wow. As a writer, that is so insulting. Because if you did something on purpose and you'd like hear this and be like, somebody figured it out, and then somebody be like, no, they didn't. But no, it was weird that you had like a lot of like many of them had kind of like key memorable moments kind of mirrored is what it was to me. But anyway, did you say we're gonna just? How do you want to?
I think Nick did it really well, where he said what he thought about the first 3 episodes and then what he thought about the last 3, because I think we all kind of have that same feeling, and I think I covered mine a little bit too. So.
Well, see, I feel like Chris and Colton do not have that feeling, and you guys are. From where I'm looking, it's like you don't like how Leia's got a storyline. Like it doesn't make sense for her to have it in there.
I didn't say I didn't like Leia.
Colton definitely did.
I don't like the storyline. I don't like the storyline of Leia.
So you've got Leia's got a piece of a storyline, and you've got Luke that has a piece of a storyline.
I mean, he gets chased in an episode.
I mean, he exists.
They're like, story. Don't forget, Luke's in this too.
And then, what do you call them? Colin, the Exquisitors. What? The Inquisitors.
The Inquisitors, I believe, is what their name is now.
The Inquisitors. They actually, they have a storyline. they're Inquisitors. Sorry.
Calm down.
So like you've got all of these storylines,
Executors.
and we've talked about Rhea and
Supervisors.
how she's just kind of thrown in there. But if
Yeah, her
Leia's-
name's her. Well, no,
go ahead.
Go,
Go
no.
Her sister.
No, you go first.
So if you took out the piece with Leia, there's no motivation for Kenobi to even have a storyline. There's no motivation for him to even come out of hiding that he's in. If you took out the piece about the Inquisitors, you don't even learn that there's a pathway for Jedi that are being rescued. Kenobi didn't even know that was happening.
The Underground Railroad, man. That's what I call it. I call it the Jedi Underground Railroad.
I mean,
That's
you're
what
right.
it was. That's what I mean.
But
It is. That's what it is.
I think all they needed.
Kenobi
was
didn't
the
even
Grand
know that
Inquisitor.
existed.
Yeah, all they needed was
Yeah,
that Grand Inquisitor.
And I said it earlier. If it just would have been about Kenobi trying to save force-minded people from the Grand Inquisitors, then I think that
Inquisitor.
storyline would have
I
been way
love it.
better. That storyline would have been way better, and then you could still throw Invader in with the whole thing.
Dude, I'm gonna tell you right now, though, the Inquisitors are way scarier in Rebels. Like they're like, we're gonna draw out this Jedi we're searching for by literally killing an entire ship full of civilians and doing a distress call to see if he comes to answer.
And that would have been cool to have gotten to know that group. But I get the first episode, the third sister allegedly takes over, or that's the second episode, is when she allegedly kills
The Grand
The
Inquisitor.
Grand Inquisitor.
the Grand Inquisitor.
Yeah.
See, look, I can get it right. I'm just gonna call it the Extinguishers.
The Extinguishers. The Grand Extinguishers.
We will extinguish
Do you
the
think that- do you
Jedi
think
from the
that
galaxy.
All spaceships have fire extinguishers.
Fire suppression systems.
Yeah, true. Actually, yeah.
No, I don't. They just open all the windows.
I was gonna
and
say,
then
the
the
window
lack of
is-
ox-
Yeah, lack of oxygen. Just open a
lack of
window.
oxygen just sucks out the fire.
There you go.
Seal it off. and
I
breach.
just felt like there was so much that it could have been a lot better. It just felt slow. And the last two episodes, I like the pace of the last two episodes. I love the action of those, and I felt like they could have had more action instead of more pointless storylines, leaving themselves open for potential plot holes.
and potential sequels. That's really what Reva was for. You could tell they were like, oh, maybe if we can make this new character, we could do a spin-off series like we are with Echo from Hawkeye and stuff like I think
Is
that's
it-
Disney was, I mean, they just want to look for opportunities, I think, to franchise.
Yeah, but Star Wars is so vast and so big. You can literally go.
yeah.
You could just start whenever and be just fine. But I don't. How in the heck is she alive after she got stabbed twice
Well,
with the
okay.
lightsaber?
I'm going to jump in on this
Anakin
one.
got 4 limbs cut off, and the
Hey,
boy's still alive.
Why is Qui-Gon Jinn the only person that gets stabbed that way and dies in anything we see?
Thank you. That
Qui-Gon
upset.
Qui-Gon had to die for
Qui-Gon-
everything else to happen. It had to happen.
Right,
Oh, that's like Doctor Strange being like, yeah, I can't cut Thanos' hand off with a portal because it's not the way I saw it.
That
Yeah.
doesn't make any sense at all. No, not one bit.
No, I just like Qui-Gon's Force Ghost should have shown up and been like, this is bull crap. Okay?
That would have been
Pop
that
in.
would have been hysterical. Also, how did she get from that planet?
Oh,
to-
dude,
like,
I'm bleeding.
what?
I need to find a ship. And then
Go
I
to
need to fly to
Tatooine.
Tatooine in what this ship. Okay, so you gotta let me say a couple things about my issues with it. Colton's been ranting. Nick's like, I will defend this show. And
I
Gunner's
will.
like,
I've
this
got
is
more to
fun.
say.
So first off, the show is really bad at trying to capture either time passage or like movement stuff. Like in the first episode, you see what it looks like when I chase my 3-year-old, and I'm like, I'm gonna get you. You're so fast, man. When they're chasing Leia, and I'm like, why wouldn't you have just had him like standing behind her, and she stands and she like looks up and the camera pans and he's like, hello, little girl. And
Yeah,
then the
they
screen
they
cuts
actually
instead
have
of
to chase
literally
her?
saying a terrible, terrible chase scene. And then you have like the bad chase scene on the rooftops where momentum doesn't make sense. And Obi-Wan goes from the top of a roof to an alleyway, and then she's still running across. And there was a guy still shooting at him, and who knows what happened to old Forlom. But the thing is like that's like a core problem with the show. It's just like I said, when Vader shows up. Oh, that's another. When Vader first gets revealed, like it's Vader. Like this is something they've been hyping up. They're like, Hayden Christensen's returning as Darth Vader. We're so excited. He's pumped. He's like, oh, this will be fun. You know, like let's like all this stuff. Like he's pumped. He's excited. Everybody, they're hyping him up. And then they're like, how are we going to reveal him? Let's show him getting put together like an Iron Man suit. And then he takes a cell phone call from his underling being like, yes, yes, I'm in the office. What do you need? And then, yes. Okay. Let me know how it goes. I'll check my email later. and then you have his actual reveal when he shows up at night as the monster that legend claims he is. Like people have heard whispers of Vader in the galaxy, and he comes into this little podunk town and starts ripping people from their houses with the Force like a monster. And you're like, that's crazy and awesome. Like, and the problem is, if you're going to reveal Darth Vader for the first time, you don't say, check him out in a Bacta tank getting suited up and taking a cell phone call, and then shoot it where you see his boots walk in. You see the boots walk in, and then you see him coming down. And it's like pans up, and it's like the reveal. And I'm like, why did you show him earlier in the show? Like you literally undermined your good shot. Like they had the shot, and then they were like, you know, it'd be cool to watch him get dressed in the morning. That's what people want. And it's just, and that, like, I feel like sometimes that's like captures the whole show. And then, so I don't actually think, for me, the first three and the last three were like vastly different in my opinion, to be honest. I will say the fifth and sixth episode had parts where I actually went, wow, that was my favorite episode. That had some incredible stuff. But I think every episode suffers from like the identical problems. Like in the final episode, not only do you have a weird passage of time, and you have her like show up back on Tatooine, like hooded. She's like, I'm undercover. I'm going to find out what this guy is. And she walks
Where's
up.
Owen?
Like she literally walks up and she's like, not undercover. She's like, remember me? and like she asks about Owen, and I'm like, it would have been so much cooler. Like, why not show her like sitting in a bar and have her like listening to somebody talk, and she'd be like being like, oh, you know, Owen, I'm supposed to find him. I got to give him some news or something, you know, like, but she's like bleeding, even though it doesn't seem to affect her. And then her motivation, and I'm actually curious to know what Nick would say about this, since you liked it. But my biggest problem, besides Darth Vader leaving someone alive who knows his identity is Anakin Skywalker, nobody. Have you ever read any of the books or comics?
No.
Okay, so I've actually read like a lot of the Legends Star Wars books, like the stuff that Disney doesn't count. I've read a little bit that they do, and the comic books are in current continuity. And in Charles Soule's Darth Vader series, that you actually get to see Darth Vader make his lightsaber. He actually kills a Jedi and takes his lightsaber and takes the Kyber crystal, and because they're alive, he forces pain and anger into it, and it actually fights back and tries to turn him back into Anakin by giving him these visions of like a life he should have had. And he corrupts it and goes through this immense pain to turn it into his red crystal. And then after that, and he creates the Inquisitors, and he actually kills an entire dropship's worth of clone troopers, because Jocasta Nu, the librarian at the Jedi Temple, the holocron keeper, she actually uses this like crazy lightsaber fueled rifle weapon against him. But they capture her, and she's like, and they're like, death to the Jedi, and they're on this dropship in Coruscant, and she's like, death to the Jedi, don't you know you're being led by Anakin Skywalker? And he literally force pushes every soldier out of that ship and sends them to their death because he doesn't let people know his identity. And then when they land, she's like, so how's it going to be? And he lights his lightsaber, and she goes, oh, I guess that makes sense. And he kills her. And then he calls Palpatine, and he's like, Yeah, she tried to get away and the ship crashed because he crashes the ship and makes sure everyone is dead that heard her say that. And so, like, when he stabs Reva and then she's breathing on the ground, when he's like, "Oh, you survived as a youngling," he's like, "Let's see if you can do it again for the plot." Like, that's my problem. Like her plot should have ended there. Like, that would have been fine. She had her a chance to get Darth Vader, had an amazing scene to show how skilled Vader was, and just, like, doesn't even bother to really fight her. And then he leaves her, and I'm like, oh, that breaks character so bad.
That's
But
such
then,
a terrible moment too, because this is just after he freaking
like,
grabs
the ship, which is
Grabbed,
awesome.
holds it.
Needed
I
it.
actually, okay, so the scene in Rogue One when he goes through the hallway and just
Oh, yeah.
like, that is incredible. Like, I felt like that is such a cool scene. And actually, when I saw that, I thought when the ship launched, they were going to have him do that for a second. Because I mean, like, us, like those of us who were like, oh, Vader's really strong. Like, I actually thought he was going to, like, stop the blockade runner for like a second, but like, it's a big ship. I figured it would still get away, but I was like, oh, I was so disappointed they didn't do that. So when they did it in the show, I was like, oh yeah, they did like, he grabbed the ship. That was so cool. But then you have Reva survive. And then what I don't understand, and Nick, if you, because this is from a storytelling thing, so if you get it, like, please, I'm open to hear your thoughts. Okay.
I'm not.
But when she,
Please keep in mind, Colton invited me to the show.
Yeah.
So when Reva goes to Tatooine and she's like, I'm gonna kill Luke, I don't understand why. So she revealed that she's not actually an Inquisitor, that it was all a ploy to try to assassinate Darth Vader to get revenge. And so hunting somebody that maybe is connected to the Force, or maybe that's why they're being hidden. Like, we as fans know that Luke is Vader's child. We know that. But there is nothing in the message that she heard where it's like, keep him from Tatooine, boy. Like there is nothing in that message that actually says it's his son or it's directly connected with him. He's hunting Jedi. Like,
Does it
there's
have anything to do with Vader? I don't
like
think.
no, like there's no. I couldn't find like why would she think she needs to hunt this kid?
It's Kenobi.
Yeah, but at that point, she even said that it wasn't about Kenobi; it was about Vader. Like,
So she tells Kenobi, like, I was the youngling and I'm here for revenge on Vader.
Where were you?
Well, Vader is like, yo, you just let Kenobi leave and he left you here to die. And that's when Vader stabs her. So from her perspective, Kenobi has betrayed her by letting her stay and fail against Vader, who Vader already knew she was a traitor the whole time, playing her.
That just makes it sound like she's the most easily manipulated person in the show, because that's basically like Obi-Wan manipulated her and Vader manipulated her. And like,
I would agree with that, because like all her Force experience comes from like being a youngling, right? And then she was raised kind of to be like an Inquisitor with this whole mindset of, I'm in the dark side, but I'm seeking revenge on Vader. So I'm not really following the dark side, but I have to follow the dark side enough to like get to my end goal. And so I don't think that she was going after Luke to spite Vader. I think she was going after Luke to spite Kenobi.
I could see that. I don't really like it though. It doesn't, like, even just from a narrative standpoint, like, it goes back to that. And I don't disagree with you. I think that very well may be what they did it for. But like, when you watch it, it doesn't feel natural that's like a natural train of thought to me, like, in that character. Like, I mean, I understand your argument or your perspective on it. And I actually think it's the best one I've heard, to be honest. But I don't know. It still felt like an excuse for the plot, because they're hoping to use her again, when really, like, she should have ended right there. Like, she should have.
I think, quick preference, I think I said Rhea earlier, Reva.
Yeah.
So you're saying that when you watched the episode, you thought your first thought was she was going to go find Luke because he was Vader's son.
I was saying that's what it felt like they alluded to. And I didn't feel like she should know that.
And that's interesting because I didn't even think about that until you just said it.
See, every single person I actually have talked to has thought the same thing. Like, has thought that it was because, like, I even talked to some people that were like, yeah, she went after him because it's his son. And I was like, how would she know that? Like,
Yeah, but
like that seems to be the, like, I'm not saying you're wrong. Like, like, don't take it that way. But I'm saying, like, from the way they portrayed the narrative, it seems to be a huge misunderstanding amongst viewers then, because almost everybody I've talked to has thought that she went after him to somehow spite Vader.
That's really interesting that you say that, because the first thought that I had stems from Vader saying, Kenobi left you to die at my hands, and you think he's the hero. And then she gets the hologram that says Tatooine boy. And my first thought is she's going to go kill Luke because Kenobi left me to die at the hands of Vader so he could escape with Leia, the girl. So she's going to go kill the boy.
Yeah,
that's what I thought.
It makes a lot more sense. It does.
But if you're saying that, like, everyone that you've talked to has this whole other, like, view, I feel like I'm wrong, right? Like, if everyone else is saying
whatever, like the directors, like Deborah Chow would listen to this.
Hey, okay.
No, but like I could just imagine her being like, oh, wait, call that guy. Get him on a radio show. Like, get him in an interview. He got it. like spread this. Get the call guys out there. He said it. He got it.
It's like finding the key.
It's just like, I don't know. But I think that goes back to, like I said, my problem with the show is more the way that they tell the story. It's more about the narrative and the portrayal than it is about, like, the Star Wars at times. And I think that maybe that even that misunderstanding that you are clarifying for me, maybe that is a good example of how the show wasn't clear to a lot of people. Like, I mean, I know people that really liked it that thought that. It's not like that swayed their opinion. But it is one thing that I couldn't figure it out, and my wife couldn't, and Gunnar and I talked about it, and he couldn't, and we were just like,
yeah, we
didn't
actually
get
had
it.
full conversations where
We didn't
like,
understand.
Puzzled, like, yeah, it doesn't really make sense.
the one thing I do.
I was also
dislike,
lightsaber fighting with my son part of the time of episode 5, so I may have not heard that dialogue. Because he saw them light lightsabers because he got up from his nap and he was like, ooh, lightsabers, and he went and got his, and we started fighting.
As you should.
That's
as you
awesome.
should.
So let's talk about that message a little bit, because he says Owen, and that's like the one thing that pulls her to Tatooine, because she goes Tatooine, Owen, boy, she goes to Tatooine, and that whole fight scene with her and Owen at the ranch
When she's severely wounded.
It was garbage,
dude. I'm gonna tell you right now, I was so.
Did you hear that, Colton? Did you hear what he said? He said
I
garbage.
did. I'm excited.
It
I'm glad Nick is finally coming to the dark side.
No,
I'm not.
No.
Not.
He
There's
does. He
just
said that
points.
he doesn't think that everything in the show was good. He said that. He said that there are things that he definitely, like the first 3 episodes, it didn't grab him.
This fight
But he
was
said
not
as a whole, he really enjoyed it. Like, he didn't say it was perfect, but I was just saying he agreed with Colton for a moment.
So this fight was not great. This fight was not great, but there's one thing. I think back to A New Hope, and I think back to how Owen was such a terrible uncle to Luke because he wouldn't let him do the things he wanted to do, right?
That's just called parenting. Wait till you have kids.
Oh, I know, but
You don't let me go to the store with my friends.
when Reva throws him off of that little overhang bridge thing and he hurts his leg, I'm like, yes. I was so happy Uncle Owen got hurt for some reason.
Wow.
And that
I
really-
actually thought Owen was one of the more, like, I felt he was actually a decently acted character in the show.
I have the complete opposite feeling, because I feel like it was just that thing.
Now,
let's
having
bring
his
him
wife
back.
be like,
Yeah.
let's get ready.
Yeah, locked and loaded.
I was like, man, she ages a lot in like 8 years.
Yeah.
They all do.
Except for Anakin. He aged very much from the time he was 19
Yeah.
in that flashback scene, which was awesome. but like it was just weird knowing that they have all this de-aging technology that they use in Marvel, and then you're like, oh, 40-year-old Hayden Christensen is clearly 19-year-old 40-year-old Hayden Christensen.
I just wanted to say that, like, I was so happy knowing how the whole thing in A New Hope with the relationship between Luke and Uncle Owen.
Okay, so you just brought up A New Hope. Nick, am I interrupting you? Do you want to say something?
Yeah,
I don't want to cut you off.
Depends on where you're going, because I do want to address that fight.
Okay.
Go ahead and address the fight, and then remind me. I got A New Hope because
Chris, I think you'll agree with me here. It bugs me when characters step out of their element. So when a character becomes something that they're not, and Riva, who is a force wielder, can't fight two farmers
who are shooting at her from like 10 feet away.
So you've got two farmers who are apparently more experienced than stormtroopers and clones. Now, given stormtroopers can't shoot at all, but
they die by stormtroopers in 8 years, man.
Yeah, that catches up real quick.
So
you've got older at that point.
You've got two farmers who all of a sudden can just shoot really well and fight off a Inquisitor, not really quite a Sith, but can fight off an Inquisitor. And then you've got an Inquisitor who can use the Force and has shown that she can block blasts with her lightsaber. And she's like, what is she even doing? She walks in and she's like, all right, shoot at me for like 3 minutes, and then I'm gonna push you off a bridge, and then I'm gonna go chase
continuity.
I'm gonna go chase the boy. So like, why is she not, throwing some stuff around with the Force, or like bringing up something like a box in front of her to take some blaster fire, or blocking any blaster fire at all? Like, I feel like all three of those characters, Owen and his wife, whose name I don't know, they just become great, and Riva just becomes trash all of a sudden. And that bugs me.
My thing that bugged me is like, she just got stabbed with a lightsaber. It took out the Grand Inquisitor. He's got two stomachs, by the way, his race, which is why a lot of people theorize that he bounced back, but anyway, that, and he has to be in Rebels in like a few years after that confrontation.
Must live. They're writing the script. Stabbed, but must live.
Stabbed, but lived.
Yeah.
But the thing is like, it was weird because it's like, okay, she just got stabbed, so she should actually be weakened, which maybe that goes into your like, why did she fight so poorly?
Yeah.
But like, she even gets hit in her wound in one scene, and she's like, oh, and then still proceeds to fight really hard for a minute. And I'm like, I don't know, man. Like it just, stuff like that just bugs me. But the New Hope thing that goes with that is like when Luke meets Obi-Wan, and there's always like some of the dialogue with the prequels, because they're like, he's like, oh, the Jedi, are they like really a thing? People, it's like a legend, and it's like, oh, a lightsaber, like that's like an old, relic of a weapon and stuff. And I'm like, I feel like Luke, I know some people are like, well, he hit his head when he fell on the show, but I'm like, it's hard for me to think that Luke isn't like, yeah, oh, Ben, one time this girl came to my house and started cutting everything up with one of these. Like, continuity wise, it's just kind of weird, because like he has no clue. Okay, so even like, I'm a big fan, but I'm not one of those that's gonna like nitpick all of the plot holes that it kind of like starts into the future movies, because I get what they're trying to do. And you can't, like, whenever you make a prequel, even if you look at like the originals, there are things that like sometimes like a line of dialogue or something will happen, and it'll be like, oh, that kind of makes what happens later kind of weird. But to be fair, it also enhanced, like Kenobi actually enhanced a couple things for the original trilogy, like with when he tells Luke, like, Vader killed your father, and then he's like, hey, why'd you say Vader killed my father? And he's like, well, it's kind of a point of view thing. but the thing is like, he believes it. Like, this show shows him, like, in that moment where he accepts that Anakin is dead and that Darth Vader killed him. And I like that, because that is what he told Luke, and people for years kind of like debated, like, why would he lie to Luke that way? It seems like kind of a silly lie. But so I actually really liked that. And I also liked You know, when Luke goes to confront Vader in Return of the Jedi, I believe, I think it's Return of the Jedi, where that line's spoken, where he's like, Father, I sense there's still good in you. And he's like, yes, Obi-Wan used to believe that, or Obi-Wan used to tell, like, said that as well. And you have that moment with them in this show. You kind of have him being like, hey, you're still Anakin. Like, don't be this guy. Also on the flip side, though, in the Legends stuff, there's a Kenobi book. And the way that Obi-Wan Kenobi actually finds out that Anakin's still alive is there's like a news feed playing in the cantina. He's on Tatooine, and like the news is going on, and they're talking about Lord Vader. They show him, and he's like, who did they say that was? And he starts losing his crap in the cantina. And like somebody, I don't remember who it is, but they like pull him, like they get him out of there, and they're like, hey, you can't act like that. People, like, you're gonna get like in trouble. The Empire will show up and get rid of you, man. You can't freak out like that. But he actually realizes that Vader is Anakin when he sees him like on screen. It's actually a really interesting moment, like if you read the text from it. And so I wish they almost would have done that, because having Reva know too felt kind of cheap to me. But yeah, it's just one of those things that just goes along with the rest of the show, kind of. But
I think that was pretty similar to how Ahsoka found out in Rebels, though, about Anakin and Vader, was how Kenobi found out. And she also thought that Anakin could be saved, and then
which is a cool scene. I love how they kind of stole that from Rebels and did it
really well.
in this episode. It's like almost beat for beat, but the interaction still feels a little different to me. I did have a friend tell me that they really liked the Rebels one a lot better still. And I told him I thought that both felt good to me. But that episode of Rebels is honestly one of the best. It's like the Empire Strikes Back of cartoon finales, man.
Yeah. What else you guys got on Obi-Wan? Is there anything that you want to talk about that really stood out to you? Anything that really like made the show or didn't make the show? Colton kind of hit on his quite a bit. I actually had to leave because, well, for one, I had to pee. No, I'm just kidding. I don't want to be a part of the fueling of the DeLorean. So we need to, yeah. Anything?
Gunnar, you've been real quiet, man. I know you've I know that was our plan, was just to let the two let the two go. Let the two, oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Back, man.
Just let the two go and just see where it takes us. But I'm kind of curious on you.
I have some notes that these two have both hit on pretty much everything I've said. I am in the middle of these two. Like I am. Chris was right. It's Colton, Chris, me, Nick. Just from who didn't like it to liked it. And I liked it because, and it can't make the show, nostalgia. It was the nostalgia that made me like the show. And it really was. The fight, the duel in the temple with Anakin and Obi-Wan with the flashback, and I know the de-aging stuff with them was kind of,
it was still awesome.
But that whole scene was great.
And it was good storytelling.
Yeah. The whole thing with them sharing that memory together, I think that was a really cool plot point. The fact that, Vader's here on his ship, Obi-Wan's down here, but they're sharing this memory together at the same point and actually pretty much talking to each other through the Force. And I just thought that was like a really cool thing. And I know they do that with Force Ghosts, and Obi-Wan through the whole show is trying to talk to Qui-Gon and he's not getting answers. But Yoda talks at one point, and you get all these people that, well, Yoda's actually still alive at this point. So, I mean, yeah, but I talked to Colton about this a while back. I would love to see some sort of training on Dagobah. I'm sure there's some story out there where Obi-Wan's on Dagobah with Yoda at some point. So I think there's certain things that this show made me want to look forward to, especially with the season 2. Like, what can they do with the season 2? And I don't know.
Hopefully hire a different writer. Like, no, like for real. Like, I genuinely think if they had a good writer, I mean, it had the potential to be a good show. It had some building blocks. It did.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it more than I disliked it, I think. But there were some points where I was just like, this is terrible writing, terrible storytelling.
I just love that. Like, he's like, Obi-Wan's comlink goes off in a hallway and people wearing helmets hear it. And she's 6 feet away from the guy next to her. And she's like, yeah, I'm in. And then he looks over and she's like, don't worry about it. And I was just like, is this real? Like, is that? And then she goes and beats somebody up in the back of the room and nobody knows.
Yeah.
And anyway, keep going. Talk some more, man.
I could probably talk all night and just like I literally have a page.
This
of
isn't even
notes.
close to your longest episode, like one
I
of your
know.
longer episodes.
I
Yes.
have a page of notes here, and you guys literally hit on pretty much everything I talked about. Reva being that pointless character, Leia having a story that was just subpar, and why was it even a part of the show other than to help Obi-Wan have motivation?
Okay. So speaking of Leia, before you jump to your next one, because I want you to answer something, and I'm curious to know what everybody thinks, because like everybody I've talked to, even people that like it, will say that like the acting is way hit or miss in the show.
Yeah.
And there were times where, you know, it's a child actor, like a lot of times they're hit or miss. But there was a scene or two where I was like, oh, she actually acted really well in that scene. Like she had a couple of moments where I was like, I could see this girl growing up to actually be a very good actress. Like I don't know if I would say it was consistent the entire show, but I will say there were some scenes where I was like, oh, that was actually like she delivered it like really well.
She had the sass of Carrie Fisher. She was there. She had that little bit of like sassiness, and I thought she did really well, to be honest.
She also loves her robot way more than Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
When he like gets off the ship and she's like, oh yay, and then the robot flies off and she's like, I'm gonna hug the robot, and it's like, that man saved your life.
Yeah.
It's just like weird stuff. Dude. Okay, go. And
I know.
I'm
I am
sorry.
here to listen to you guys talk. That's what I want to know. That's what I want to do. I'm here to do the introduction and the plugs.
You're the
and
call
listen.
guy. You're
Dude,
one of the
no,
two.
I'm just kidding. Seeing Hayden Christensen come back as Darth Vader was by far one of my favorite parts of the show. Although you didn't really get to see him, I love the whole thing they did where they kind of matched. Was it Rebels where she cuts his helmet?
Yeah.
So where they matched the whole voice changer thing. Where
That
he's
was
talking
cool.
and it's like going in and out of his actual voice and Vader's voice. That was just cool.
It was.
And I actually saw the clips put like together to see like
the
difference between
Rebels
them.
one.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
cool.
You kind of get that like how they did it between the two of the shows.
I intentionally avoided that because I heard that he came back, like they had a showdown, and I did not want to see anything about it because I was like, oh, that's gonna be so
the
cool.
fact that they actually like cut his mask off too.
And, had you not seen it yet, Chris, in Rebels? Had you not seen that confrontation yet?
So I finished Rebels. No, what I meant was when I was watching Rebels, I avoided seeing anything from that Ahsoka fight because I had another friend who was watching it and was like, dude, something happens and it's really cool. I finished Rebels like a couple months ago, I think. I finished Clone Wars like a year ago, I think. Maybe a year and maybe two. I don't remember. But
so one of the questions this whole show leaves me with, besides what's season 2 going to be about, is what is Vader doing from here until A New Hope, Rogue One, I guess. What is he doing? Is he training Inquisitors? Is he training Inquisitors? Is he just sitting on Mustafar answering his emails? Is he what is he doing? What do you guys think?
Reva, you still haven't filed your TBS report. That would be great. That would be great.
Also, I did love seeing the Emperor come back.
No, that was cool. I like that I mean, I love that I mean, I didn't research to make sure, but I'm pretty sure it was him.
It's the same guy, yeah.
And I love that he's basically committed, like as long as he's alive, he will play the Emperor. Like that, he's down with that. And I love that, man. I think that's cool.
So do you guys have anything like that?
Thoughts on the Vader thing?
Yeah, like what's he doing from here until then? I know I'm sure there's tons of content out there, whether it's books, comics.
I'll probably give you some comics.
Shows.
I think there's probably some stuff in there that they cover.
Okay.
I mean, they actually show in that same comic series, by the way, they show him build his temple on Mustafar.
Yeah.
And it's like an evil Sith entity architect trapped in a helmet that helps him do it.
That was one of the things I really loved about the end of Boba is that you see Luke out there building these temples. I always thought that was cool. That was like one of the best parts of those last couple episodes. But that would be cool to see too.
Well, I do like how you see like the Sith temple.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you get the one on the water planet where it's just kind of just in the middle of nowhere, and then you've got Vader's temple. But you see them originally in like Rebels is where you would have seen them first. if you would have watched everything like as it came out. You get to see them how they're taking some holocrons around, but like I just think it's cool. You see them again. You know, you see them here in Kenobi, and like they're actually being used.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I would actually like honestly with the right writer and director, and I know I've said that, like I'm not trying to, dude, I'm a writer and I don't get to do it for a living, so I can't really, I feel like sometimes when you critique like professionals, it doesn't matter if their stuff's good or not. You're like, oh well, they're still the writers. But I would actually be really interested in seeing a Vader show, like seeing whether he's hunting other Jedi, and like maybe seeing him, you know, like kind of do that Empire work, because he's like the both like the junkyard, like the rabid dog that they're chained up. Like he's like the Emperor's hunting hound, really, is what he is. Those were two terrible analogies smashed together just then, but those are two very different kinds of dogs. But like he's like the threat, like the face threat of the Empire. Like he's supposed to be like the boogeyman that people know about, and it would be interesting to see him like go out also as a spin-off show. Where Reva was kind of a bland character, I actually thought the Imperial officer that was helping that Underground Railroad, how she shares that, like, hey, I joined the Empire because I really thought they believed in what I believed. And then, you know, we were like rounding people up like kids and stuff and killing them. And she's like, this is not what I thought we were doing. And so she becomes like a double agent. I actually think that would make kind of a cool show if they did it right, you know,
and we
like having that kind of a
Andor being something similar.
I would love to see with Andor coming up. So they said it's 12 episodes. Oh. And so it's going to be like the longest Disney Plus show they've ever done. But it actually follows Cassian Andor from childhood to his role kind of in Rogue One, I think. And it also follows Mon Mothma and her rise as a senator who's fighting against the Empire, to her exile and becoming part of the rebellion. And so I feel like, again, though, like I wanted Winter Soldier to be a show that was kind of spy-ish, and they didn't do that. And I think that's where they kind of lost what it could have been. I actually really hope that with Andor, like he grew up as a separatist. He ends up fighting for the rebellion. Like that's cool. I would love to see them like really go into that. Like this is a spy. This is like an assassin for, like, I mean, technically the rebels are terrorists to the Empire, man. And like they really touch on that in Rogue One, and it would be interesting if they embrace that idea and like really dig into that more like that boots on the ground kind of underground side of that. But I think a Vader spinoff show would be super cool. To see what he was up to. But what about you, Colton? What do you want to see what Vader was doing?
I have read somewhere that one of the things that Vader does between technically now and going to find Princess Leia, is the general of the Death Star. I cannot think of his name to save my life.
Like Krennic? Is that who? Or are you talking about Grand Moff Tarkin?
Might be Tarkin. General. Yeah, it might be Tarkin.
Tarkin takes it over from Krennic. Krennic's the one that was supposed to lead it, and he dies in Rogue One. It was his project.
Okay, yeah. So the second guy, yeah. So that I heard that he actually was ordered by Vader to hire bounty hunters to have him hunt him down, to hunt Vader down, so that way he would stay ready. That's and be ready for. I know, and I think
cool.
I think that would be.
I have that.
I think that would be a really, really cool concept for a Vader-led series. Is that of him saying, "Hey, I need to stay ready because I'm a stay ready all-star," and because you don't have to get ready if you stay ready, Gunner. That's right.
I know.
Yeah, that's right.
You just gotta make sure to put all your robot parts on in the morning.
But if I think that would be really cool, if it's just him fighting off like different styles of bounty hunters.
Yeah, then they could bring Cad Bane back, which I apologize to all of the fellow listeners that I miscalled that. I really thought they'd bring Cad Bane in for the series.
Well, and then that also brings in Boba
Yeah.
Boba Fett, because that's how they kind of get each other's number, so to speak.
Hey, buddy. Type in your number.
Hey, you did really. Vader's like, yeah, you passed the test, so I'm gonna keep you on a speed dial just in case I need you in
Here's
future.
my email.
Yeah,
He's got
I
to
should-
input his number on his chest panel, so
Hold
Bo's
on,
actually
you
got
think
to
that's
go
how-
up to his.
you think that's
He's
how
got
he
to go up
calls
to his
people?
chest panel.
Oh, boop, boop, boop. Tarkin.
Oh, dang it, wrong sequence.
Oh, dang it. Oh, not that one. Oh, so one thing I was gonna say too, before because I feel like we're kind of moving past what we thought about the episode, so I don't want to like jump way far back. But
We're
it was
good. We're good. We can skip it.
so but we were talking about how much we liked so much of episode 6, right? Like part 6. And like, yeah, the fight was kind of dumb, but a lot of the action sequences were the problem with the show. I just think that I don't know if it was the director's inexperience. Like she did do an episode or 2 of Mandalorian, but other than that, if you look up what she's done, like it's been a lot of random like single TV shows and stuff.
B-movies and
And same thing with the
short films.
writers. The writers were like, a lot of their stuff wasn't like huge, which is fine. Like it was a television budget show.
Hey, they made a lot of money.
Yeah, they
Just so
did.
you know.
Well, man, I need to get something finished and out there. No,
Yeah, you do.
No, but the thing is episode 6, I feel like really captured my thought on the entire show, because you had the with the except I was going to say the highest moment of the show to me, like kind of that climax moment with Anakin and Obi-Wan, and not even necessarily their actual fight, but that dialogue, like when it's just them. That was just so well done. And we were even talking about how they intentionally lit like Vader's face with each color of the lightsaber, depending what they were talking about, and like it was pretty brilliant. Like that, if that would have be the part of the show that you would know is out there, and you went into the whole show expecting that, I feel like you'd be severely disappointed. Because like that is so well done. Although I do have a problem with how many rocks Obi-Wan throws at Vader, because he's like, "Oh, I am an earthbender. Did you forget? Firebender. Fire Nation is not good here." And then he proceeds to throw like 147 rocks. And I literally told Gunnar, I said, my problem with that is, in the Clone Wars, when you're fighting robotic armies, if you just had the Jedi walk out front and go, "Get behind me, I've got the rocks." like if Jedi could do that, I'm not sure why they don't more often.
Colton, you remember how I said that Shang-Chi was a better Avatar the Last Airbender? I think Obi-Wan was a better Avatar the Last Airbender.
Oh man. So here's the thing. But other than the rocks, like that part was cool. But then on the flip side of that episode, then you have the whole thing with Reva, which even though I do think Nick helps me appreciate it more, with his insight, that whether he's wrong because he's the only one that thinks it, or if he no, I'm going by what he said.
He did say that. He did say that.
I did say that.
So whether he's wrong and he was just like being smarter than the writers, basically, or if he is the only one that's right that I know, like honestly, my problem is Reva is such a weak portion of the show as a whole, that you have that super high of Obi-Wan and Vader, and then you have that super low of like the fight scene and the silliness of like Luke falling and her being like, avenging dead kids by killing a kid, and like, and you have that whole thing, and it's the juxtaposition of that episode can both capture like the highs and the lows of the show to an extent, and that, like, so for me that episode like really kind of captured that. It kind of captured how I felt about almost the whole series, I think.
Nice.
So I got a question for Nick, and I this is a softball for you, Nick, so you're welcome.
Yep, please.
One thing I don't think that a lot of people know is that Nick is really, really good at assessing sword fights and lightsaber fights. That sounds weird. But
Have you trained at the Saber Academy?
Not that kind of. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh,
Okay, keep going.
gosh. Okay.
since you all know
Edit
the
that,
joke and
edit
I
that.
don't, I'm just waiting like the rest of the audience to find out what
Just
this
edit
is.
that out, Gunner.
Yeah, I got you.
One thing Nick is really good at is watching duels with swords and assessing how that they are done. If it's true to the how you would actually fight in real life with a sword. And that's one thing I've come to appreciate with Nick is that I've listened to Nick go off about fights in Star Wars that's not, if a guy's attacking you like this, you can't do what you did there or something like that. Nick, what did you think about the saber fights in this series? Do you think that they were portrayed accurately, or do you think that they were just there for like mostly movie magic?
I think the first saber fight was, I believe it was episode 3 when you first see Darth Vader, right?
Yeah.
And Kenobi gets dragged through the fire.
Which is awesome, by the way. It's like, feel my pain, you son of a.
So we kind of already touched on that whole like runaway scene, right? But like,
Yes.
it is very like cheesy horror. Like I'm gonna run a foot and look back and I tripped over a root. Oh no!
Oh,
please
he's
don't
not
slash
there.
me. Like it's very. I think it's very cheesy. But once they get up to the top, it's very much like feel my pain. Like this is what you put me through, so I'm gonna put you through the same thing. So I wouldn't say there was a lot of saber fighting there, but Kenobi was just kind of garbage with his lightsaber. He just wasn't great, and I think that goes with the plot that I said earlier, where in the first couple episodes, Kenobi's like trying to recover, I guess, this point of killing Anakin. He thought he killed Anakin, so he's giving up the Jedi way. I think that has to play into why his saber usage is not great. But the scenes in episode 4 and episode 5, I believe it'd be 5, when they're on the rebel base, and he's actually using a saber again and blocking shots, and it just makes a little bit more sense, and you see him come more into reusing his saber than where he was in episode 3. And then he's back into full-fledged Kenobi by the time you get to episode 6. I think the saber fights were actually pretty good. And you do see some of like the styles that Kenobi and Anakin used. One of the things that Colton and I have talked about in the past is like Vader cannot lift his arms above his shoulders. He cannot come into an upwards block with his saber. And I've read before that that's to limit his power. Sidious built him that way, his suit that way, because it limits his power and usage of a saber, so he can't become more powerful. And you see that in the fights.
Yep.
He can't do certain things,
and
he's
frustrated.
very limited. And so you do see him where Anakin could do all of this fluid motion with a saber. Vader cannot. He's not fluid because of all that restraint from his shoulders upwards. So I think that's pretty cool to see the shift between Anakin and Vader. But I think the fight was pretty good in 6 regarding the lightsabers. Sorry, go ahead, Chris.
Oh, I was just going to say, did you notice? Because I thought I saw this, so I'm curious if you thought you saw it too. But did you see Kenobi use Anakin's saber spin against him when he's fighting him as Vader in that fight?
Was it a 360?
It's the one that he uses where he usually does he starts with the front spin and then it's the behind the back and he turns and hits.
Yes.
Obi-Wan used it, and that's like Anakin's like signature move. And so I was like, oh man, he's even using his own stuff against him. I like that.
Kenobi does that twice, not like overall.
Yeah.
So he uses Anakin's own move against him there. But he does it in, like you had said earlier, when he fights Maul in Rebels. And I was telling Colton about this.
He does? Well,
so he switches up. Kenobi uses Kenobi uses a fighting style. Go ahead, Chris.
Well, yeah.
You have something to say.
Yeah, I absolutely love that fight because Obi-Wan actually switches from his standard fighting style that he uses in the Clone Wars, and then he actually he takes on Qui-Gon's fighting style, which is what you see him use in A New Hope.
He takes on Qui-Gon's style, but I believe he shifts halfway through back to his own, which is why he beats Maul so easily.
Well, see, I actually watched a video once that made me rewatch this a few times. And it's pretty brilliant. And I don't know if you've seen this, and I don't know if you'll agree, but what they talk about in the video, and I went back and watched, is that because he uses Qui-Gon's style, if you go watch his confrontation with Darth Maul, Darth Maul actually uses the same attack that he uses.
Yeah, he uses the same
Qui-Gon.
attack, but Kenobi's seen it before.
Yeah, and so he fakes him out basically.
Yeah.
And I just love that. I love that Kenobi plays on that. And then I actually think the moment between Obi-Wan and Darth Maul at the end of that is so good, man. Because it's actually like akin to something like you had with like Vader and Obi-Wan in this show almost. It's actually really tragic. Like you feel for Darth Maul. Like it's a great scene. But
good question.
I didn't mean to take that from you, by the way.
Yeah,
that's all right.
It was almost word for word. I'm sure what he was going to say too, right?
Yeah.
I was going to say, I remember Nick telling me about it and how giddy he was about how
it was brilliant.
Obi-Wan switched it up mid-fight. And then,
it really is.
That's cool.
Hey, for I don't know if you guys, I know Gunnar and I've talked about it. There's a YouTube channel. I'm gonna plug somebody that I watch, but it's called Corridor Digital. And they have videos called like Stuntmen React and VFX Artists React. And it's really interesting if you're into film, because they'll actually have like special effects artists and stuntmen on, and they break down a lot of stuff. And since he said that you like to analyze like sword fights and stuff, they actually had a master swordsman help them make a video, and they do a realistic duel, but they do it with lightsabers. And they choreograph this whole thing and then shoot it with special effects. And I think it's under their Corridor Digital is what it's under. Because Corridor Crew is what does the VFX Artists React and stuff. But you should look it up if you haven't seen it. It's a really cool fight because it thinks about the way you would actually fight with a blade, instead of it just kind of being an idea.
In the lightsaber, it makes sword fighting very different, because a sword or a lightsaber doesn't have one edge. The whole
thing's
saber
dangerous.
is an edge. And then if you're a Jedi, you are sensing with the Force. So like where you originally would not take your eyes off your opponent, a Jedi can do a spin where they would still know where their opponent's at or what their opponent's about to do. Or they can do, like you had said, Anakin's like block behind and come back forward. They can do that where they're taking their sword out from in front of them, which you wouldn't do, to do a move that he's capable of because he's a Jedi or a Sith, one of those two. But because of the use of the Force, it just changes up how they're allowed to fight with a saber.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Adds the extra element.
I've actually, I told my wife when we were watching episode 4 and Obi-Wan started blocking lightsaber bolts in the hallway when the glass was cracking. And sorry, I said episode 4, part 4 of Kenobi. I actually was like, I looked at her and I was like, well, he's using the Force, because technically it irritates me whenever they, like, I think he blocks a bolt or two in an earlier episode. And it kind of bugged me, because I'm like, if he doesn't have the Force, he really shouldn't be able to do that. Because the only reason Jedi can do that, like anybody could have a lightsaber, but the only reason Jedi can do that is because of the Force. I mean, you could get lucky just like hitting a baseball or something, but it's not the same. But that's why when he started using it pretty fluidly and blocking that hallway full of troopers, I was actually like, oh, he's getting it back.
Yeah.
So are there any last few things you guys want to say about Obi-Wan before we move on to one last question?
There's one part that I really liked in episode 6. That was right before Vader and Kenobi start dueling. So for me, I like the whole series, right? I already said that. I like how it was the progression of Kenobi kind of in
We should just call him that. Obi Kenobi.
Obi-Kobe. It was it was the progression of Kenobi from like this thought process of he was the one that killed Anakin, and so he's like basically in this depression, and he ends up coming out of it. And then Vader says, "You think that you killed Anakin? You didn't. I killed Anakin." And it was kind of this full circle moment for him, and he becomes a Jedi again. He says there's these two lines that I loved, and they're from Episode 3. Kenobi says, in response to Vader, he says, "I will do what I must," which is exactly what he said to Anakin on Mustafar. And then Anakin replies, "Then you'll die." And Vader says the same thing. And I think it just completed the death of Anakin for me, where Anakin is just no longer there. And Kenobi accepts the fact that Anakin is no longer there. And now it is Vader who is true Sith, true dark side. He accepts the fact that he needs to defeat this foe. I just love those two lines, how they called back to Episode 3 for it. That being said, I wish when Vader does the kind of the earthquake and destroys the floor from underneath.
I was literally going to ask you this.
I wish he would have said, "Who has the high ground now, master?"
Dude.
And then buried him in the rocks. I would have loved that. It would have been so
Everybody
great.
I know said that. But
well, they hit the two callback lines, and then he's there looking down on Kenobi, and he doesn't say it.
and
Wait, everybody
every
that
fan
watched-
is
Yes.
thinking it.
Yep.
He has the high ground.
I looked at Sarah while I'm watching that and I go, he's got the high ground.
Which, realistically, in my mind, because he didn't say it, that's why he lost.
Fair. That's fair. That's fair.
My other thing was when Force Ghost Qui-Gon was at the end, I looked at Sarah and I said, "It happened."
Well,
I was
and
so
I
happy.
think it happened at the end of 6 rather than the beginning of 1, because Obi's a Jedi again.
Yeah.
I told Gunner that I kind of wish it would have happened right before the fight, the final confrontation.
I could have seen it there too.
I almost wish, because my problem is if sorry.
I could just imagine he's laying underneath all those rocks and Qui-Gon just pops in like, "Hey, dude."
I said before.
What you doing
the
down
fight.
here?
Well, no, it couldn't be before the fight because he goes down. It has to be when he's like vulnerable. Like he's like laying there like about to die holding the rocks. And
He's
Qui-Gon's like,
He's like,
"I
oh,
can see it."
this is
You
kind
need
of a
help?
bad time for
About
me.
time
Can you
to
call
figure
back?
I'm
in the middle.
That's like Spider-Man trying to hold the building.
That's
under
literally what I
himself, and then
thought,
he
yeah.
like talks to himself, but like then Qui-Gon just.
But it'd be
pops in.
like,
It's like
and Qui-Gon's like coming through the rocks. Hey, buddy.
I have a particular set
You
of
got
skills.
this, man.
I
No,
have a
but-
particular set of skills.
But here's the thing. So I know because part of me almost was like, well, if Obi-Wan accepts that Vader killed Anakin, like Jedi do fight and kill Sith. So I was like, why leave him alive? Like, and I get it. You can be like, oh, because he still doesn't want to kill him. And that's okay, even though when he went to Mustafar in Revenge of the Sith, he went committed.
He
to
absolutely
killing
killed him.
Yeah.
And part of me was like, man, think of all the good he could have done to the galaxy right there. And I told Gunnar, I said, I almost wish Qui-Gon would have shown up before that because you know, there's all this lore that like Qui-Gon saw visions of the future. And it would have been interesting if he was like,
If
you-
Qui-Gon stopped him,
yeah, if Qui-Gon would have been like, you need to spare him. Like just a line like that. Like, I know that you know, like you may not understand, but like he needs to live.
But then
or even like if Kenobi's about to strike him down, and then Qui-Gon
Yeah.
just like appears in front of Anakin,
And he goes,
or Vader,
"Whoa!"
just for a
Oh.
split second.
He's like, you almost got stabbed twice, man.
What were you gonna say, Gunnar? Look, you were gonna say something.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah. Did you have anything left to say about it? The only other thing I was going to say is I actually, you know, you guys talk about like nostalgia and, you know, there's a lot of like faux fan service. I think fan service can be done really well. And I think fan service can be done really poorly. Because if it feels like pandering, then you're just like, yeah, I get it. You know, I'm a fan. Thank you for making a whole movie that's pandering. Where like when it's good, you're like, oh, that was cool. And I actually loved that when he walks up to Luke and he goes, hello there.
Yep.
Like
Yes.
it actually didn't feel shoehorned. You're like, yeah, I could totally see him. Like that would be natural.
That's what
That is him.
says.
That's
what
him.
he says.
And I was like, that was such a good way to put that in.
Yeah.
And I was like, that is a great example. Like what you just said, like the callback lines, like that was a great way and a great example in a show that like I may not praise and you guys do, and Colton may burn his TV if it ever comes on, you know, but like again, there are moments of genuine brilliance, like where the writing is good. And I saw that and I was like, why was this show not this good the whole time? Because they show that they had that they had some of that skill.
I got this.
Let me answer your question.
I got. Are you ready for
Disney
it?
just loves money.
Are you ready for
Cash
it?
grab. I will die on this hill. Grape me in the mouth.
Stop. Thank you for listening to the Call the Guys podcast.
The reason why, because the writing sucked.
Yeah.
Why is the sky blue? Why is the grass
green?
green?
Because they made it that way.
Exactly.
Because they weren't taking the Eagles to Mordor. Anyway.
Okay. Let's move on. Let's move on. Let's
Get to your
done with
last
Kenobi.
thing. I feel like we hit it all spectrums. I think, and I love what Nick had to input on that. By the way,
yeah.
I'm so glad he's on. Like, it just is.
The ringers are here.
I don't feel like a ringer with him. I mean, yeah, like we both have a lot of knowledge that we have.
Like I told Colton, we could have sat back, not talked, and you guys could have had.
No, we need Colton to be like,
you guys are wrong.
That's what you.
Bad.
That's the thing. You got to have the both sides. And I felt like, and I knew Nick was going to be on the complete opposite side of me, but I didn't see you.
I knew that you were gonna think that I was gonna be up there with Nick. I knew you.
Chris took a whole different viewpoint on it. Like where you're saying like I don't want to see Leia and I don't want to see Luke. Before Kenobi even came out, Colton's comment was, "I want to see Luke shooting a bunch of womp rats."
Yeah, did that happen? Happen?
Colton had no expectations for this. Let's be honest.
No, Colton had way too many expectations.
That's it.
And this show didn't follow the plot that I wrote in my journal 2 weeks ago. I said he needs to save Jedi and Luke needs to shoot womp rats. And if this show doesn't have that, it's not Star Wars.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
But I think why Chris didn't like it was more of a writing standpoint and like the artistic point, like the artistic perspective.
Oh, is the plot not a
show.
part? Is the plot not a part of the artistic standpoint?
Colton,
What is the purpose
Colton,
then?
You're upset, and I understand that.
No, you don't.
You're
you
upset,
do
and I
not.
understand that.
No.
Nick was sponsored by Disney for this episode.
Okay.
Okay,
I
go.
have one more question for you guys, and you guys already know about the question. It's something that we do with all of our guests that come onto the show. We like to call back to an older episode and ask a question from those episodes that we have talked about before. So tonight's, I don't even know what to call it right
Gunner's
now.
like, this needs to end.
Yeah, that's exactly what he's thinking. He's like, I'm tired. He's like Colton. He's like,
Dude,
Colton,
we gotta
shut
get up
up.
and go make this factory run.
This has
tomorrow.
been a great conversation about this show, and we are pushing a long episode right now.
Yeah, we
so
are.
It's okay.
It's a Star Wars episode. It's tradition.
Yeah.
It was originally the longest episode.
Yeah,
So it's like it's always going to be long.
I feel like we stayed on topic very, very well. Just saying,
We did.
Oh no, and even the intro section, like sometimes you guys will run a while like catching up and doing stuff. And I feel like we jumped into it pretty
I agree.
quickly.
I agree. We
But
did pretty
anyway.
good. So the question is, what are your top 2 or 3 musicals?
Nick,
Movies.
yeah.
does it have to be a movie? Or is it just
Preferably, yes.
musicals?
Mu-
Oh.
Oh, preferably.
Well,
Yes.
Mm.
If you have a musical you've seen, throw it in there.
Like on stage?
Yes.
Okay. Can it be a musical television series?
Sure.
Okay.
Nick?
Go ahead, Nick. Go ahead first.
Okay,
Okay.
so yeah, I don't watch a lot of musicals, so my list to choose from is very limited. But I do enjoy Mamma Mia. I like the
Right on.
music in that.
Sydney, shout out. Sydney.
Problematic. What's that
You know,
movie about? What's
ABBA?
that movie about?
It's about ABBA.
Yeah. Fair enough.
do we need to go into that plot, Colton? I'll do it. I'll go into the entire
no,
plot of the movie.
no.
He's
We're
like,
good.
He's like, it
I
is a
have-
great film. And Colton's like, the plot was terrible.
It's the hill I always go to die on.
All right.
Okay,
Oh,
Mamma
yeah.
Mia.
Who-
Okay, Mamma Mia. Recently, I went to a musical here in Houston. It's new, just written, and they're trying to get it onto Broadway. So I don't know, I don't know how much I can actually say. But the musical is called Noir,
Ooh.
and
I like that.
it had a little bit of darkness to it. All original songs, and I just there were some good twists in it that I had no idea. Like I did not see them coming at all.
Okay.
So I think it was really, really well done. The music was really good in it. And I got to see it on stage. So I got to see like the set itself and how the set changes to match the musical. So I thought that was really good. And then I do like the Newsies as well.
Oh man, the Newsies is good. Are you talking the original movie with
Christian Bale?
Batman?
Yes.
Batman.
Yes.
With Batman.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
I mean, I think because he's an orphan in that movie, so I'm pretty sure he's Bruce Wayne.
It is a very good, convincing origin story. I'm just gonna say it.
I didn't know he's such a good painter.
Those are good, Nick. Those are good.
Yeah.
Okay, so I actually love musicals. I've watched a lot of them. Although, interestingly enough, you guys, was it you, Colton, that said that you're supposed to watch Chicago was one of them?
I've actually watched Dear Evan Hansen and Chicago
Since you're recording?
since that.
Okay. What'd you think of
And-
Chicago?
I really liked it.
I like that one a lot too. That would be an honorable mention for me. In high school, that was like one of my favorite musicals.
I see why it won a lot of awards
Oh yeah.
and why it has the pub that it has.
Yeah, Richard Gere's awesome in that movie.
Richard
too.
Gere's awesome.
Mhm.
Catherine Zeta-Jones.
Oh yeah, Renee Zellweger. She's they're great.
I saw John C. Reilly. I was like, "What the heck are you doing here?"
Dude, Mr. Cellophane.
Yeah, I felt bad for him.
Oh yeah, man. You do.
but yeah,
You're
I
like,
could
"Man,
see-
you just get used.
Yeah. I mean, I can see why that did so well is because all the songs hit,
Mm.
and
I love Reach for the
They-
Gun. Oh yes, oh yes, oh yes.
oh yeah,
Dude, that's a great song. That's like that song in the movie. That's a good one.
yeah. So yeah, I'm glad I've gotten to see Chicago. Now I just got to see Moulin Rouge and
Across the
Rent.
Universe and Across the
Across the Universe. Actually, Bree wants to see that one too.
Universe.
So we'll probably see that one first, and then Rent. Have you seen Rent?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I actually have only seen parts of it. I've never seen the whole movie.
Have you
Also,
seen Tick Tick Boom?
only
Netflix?
clips, and
Oh.
I want to watch that.
You need to
I
watch it.
really want to.
Garfield, Andrew Garfield does a fantastic job, and I wish I would have watched Rent first and then Tick Tick Boom.
Okay, because
Because-
it's like the whole plot of him like basically writing Rent.
To an
Like,
extent,
to a-
kinda.
Like it's about his life, but I mean, like he is the person that wrote Rent. So like,
yeah, he
Yeah.
is the dude. But Tick Tick Boom was the one he made right before Rent,
okay,
and he was thinking that was going to be the one that turned
Did it
into
right after.
Rent.
okay.
It's really
Okay.
interesting.
It's
I
really
read
it's
some
really really
stuff
good.
about it, but it was a while back.
It's
so-
really really good. I was very impressed, but I wish I would have watched Rent first.
I do have
So
one question. Are you doing 3? You got 3?
Yeah, it's really hard to pick though. Like I really like I love musicals, man. I
Yeah.
used to walk around the factory singing musical numbers.
okay, so what you got?
Okay, so I'm gonna go number 3. By the way, I've never seen Les Mis,
Oh, that's okay.
and I know you guys were talking about how
Oh,
good it
It's
is.
not okay. Gunner, say that's
Um,
not okay.
It's okay. It's
but-
okay that you haven't seen it, but you need to watch it.
But and I do think the music in The Greatest Showman is really good, but I can't get through the movie.
Thank you.
So I'm with Colton on that one. I saw Wicked on Broadway in Chicago. And so I'm going to say my number 3 would be Wicked. It was the coolest actual live theater experience I've ever had. If you've
Nice.
never seen actual live Broadway, I mean, it's unreal. Cause like the set like moves on its own and stuff. Like you don't see stagehands. They don't like dim the lights and have the stagehands come out and like change the set. Like the set's like automated. I don't know how they do it.
Wow.
But it was impressive. The music from Wicked is also phenomenal. I do not like the book it's based on very much. It's very dark and the tone is very different. When it comes to musicals, I really enjoy it when musicals are kind of like fun, you know, like maybe that's why I haven't watched Les Mis, because when I watch musicals, I like them to be kind of silly and kind of fun, because that's just like how I engage.
Les Mis is pretty depressing.
The musical
Yep.
episode, I will say the musical episode of Scrubs is phenomenal.
Yes.
The musical episode of Scrubs is like one of my favorites.
Musical episodes of TV shows are amazing.
Psych and Scrubs and all that.
Castle
that
does
do it.
one. Man,
Castle
there's-
does a.
yeah,
Oh man,
yeah.
I need to watch Castle. Anyway, number 2, I'm gonna go.
Does it make you cry? Well, hello there.
Hello there.
Wait, does Nick? Okay, first, quick pause. Nick, do you know that joke when we talk about that?
It's
Which
Does
from
your
part?
a
The hello
podcast.
there? Yes, I do understand the hello
No,
there.
no,
No,
not
no.
that.
Everything
My
else
number 2 makes me
regarding
cry.
musicals and no, I don't.
No. Does your number 2 make you cry?
No, I don't.
Okay.
He's not an avid Call Guys listener.
Yeah,
so-
I'm
not a real listener.
Yeah.
Okay,
no,
Chris.
it's-
I've listened to one episode, guys. I apologize for that, but it was the Star Wars episode to see everyone's opinion.
Yes, that was my episode with you guys. Yeah. He was like, I have to learn my enemy. Who is this other person?
Oh, that's
Since I'm the nice guy, I'm gonna say it's okay. Thanks for listening to at least one. Colton's probably gonna say, Gunner, you can't say that.
Don't worry, I've got a road trip coming up. I'll cue some up.
Yeah, they're all pretty entertaining. Skip the Stranger Things one. Sorry, guys. No, it wasn't bad. You didn't have the same dynamic you normally do.
Yeah, we
you
just
didn't
discussed.
bicker. You just kind of agreed and said you really like something, and you didn't have like a big discussion. And that's what makes you guys so engaging. You guys like it's your viewpoints.
Yeah.
So my number 2, it does not make me cry. But it's a TV series that ABC did called Gallivant, and it is almost a parody of a musical, but it was like 8 episodes long, half-an-hour episodes. They did 2 seasons, and if you hear the theme song of it, it'll never leave your mind for the rest of your life. Super catchy, but Gallivant, it's fun, it's silly. It's like a medieval thing. The main character's name is Gallivant.
Nice.
And he's supposed to rescue his fiance who wants nothing to do with him, basically. It's dumb, but it's good. It's funny. It's silly. It's kind of raunchy at times. It's a musical. That should be. It's funny. It's silly. It's kind of raunchy. It's a musical. That's like sums up most of them. And then my first, I could literally say the exact same thing. It's hilarious. It's a little raunchy at times, but it is The Producers. If you haven't seen The Producers,
Okay, if I would have had a little preface on this question and thought about it more, we watched The Producers in college, and it was the stupidest, funniest thing
dude,
I had ever seen.
I sometimes I wonder if I'm gonna get fired because I'll walk around singing "Springtime for Hitler."
Springtime for Hitler in
And I'm
Canada.
like, I was born in Dusseldorf, and that is why they call me Rolf. Don't be stupid, be a smarty. Come and join the Nazi party.
Oh God.
But the point of The Producers is they try to make the worst musical ever, right?
Yeah.
So that they can basically commit fraud, keep the money they raised, and run off to Rio de Janeiro with that, and like live in luxury. So they make a movie, they make a musical about why Hitler was so great, and it ends up being a huge farce, and people think it's making fun of Hitler, and it's a fun musical. Nathan Lane and Matthew Broderick, Uma Thurman's in it, in the movie. There is a non-musical version of it that Mel Brooks did actually prior to that. I don't think it's nearly as funny. It has what, I can't think of his name. Who played Willy Wonka? Gina.
Gene
Not
Gene
Hackman.
Wild,
Not Wild.
Gene
Wildman?
Hackman.
Wilder.
Gene
Wilder.
Hackman Gunner.
Sorry. You
Who's
said
Marty
Gene.
McFly? Who's Marty McFly?
Dude, Colton, we did trivia last night at the bar and we didn't get last place.
No, it was actually awesome. We were next to last, and then the last round we climbed like 5 spots. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Yes,
But
that's
yeah,
awesome.
but
Wilder.
yeah. So anyway, so the producer's probably my number one. Sound of Music, to be honest, like that could be my number one sometimes. I've seen it live. It's great. I love Julie Andrews. My wife, that's her favorite musical. It's a great one. And like, but yeah, I just love musicals, man. They're good. And also like Tangled, when it comes to Disney, I think has great music. I think, and it's brilliant in its comedy.
That was one thing Sarah said to me. She's like, "You guys didn't mention any Disney movies."
Yeah, I mean, you could literally make like,
I think we should do just a Disney movie episode. I actually would love to go down the Pixar theory with you, Gunner.
Yeah.
I think that would be.
I
I think that would be a fun
I got another
episode.
one, the Sandler verse.
Oh my god.
Sandler. Oh boy.
How they all connect. Yes.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Anything else you want to add before I do all these great plugs for the end of the episode?
I will say I did forget to mention a musical. It's Peter Pan Goes Wrong, I believe. It's a British show, and it's absolutely hysterical. If you like British comedy, it's right up your alley.
Have any of you ever seen or listened to the music from Avenue Q?
I don't think so.
It's basically a very, like, it'd be like an 18 and over. Like, you wouldn't take your kids to go see it at Sesame
my.
Street. It's literally like Muppets
Oh,
and
God.
stuff. And it's got, I can't say you need to look it up. It is so funny. But it is not appropriate. I can't outrightly endorse it because I don't know if I would actually want to go see it. I have some friends that have, and they said on stage it was really cool.
Nice.
But I want to thank, I'm sure Nick will say the same thing, but I just want to thank you guys for letting me be a part of the Call Guys. I've listened to all the episodes, but this last one, I'm like halfway through your musical episode. And it's fun to just hear you guys banter back and forth. And sometimes I'm like texting or like office messaging Gunner if I'm listening while I'm working, and I'm like, what is Colton talking about? Or I'm like, it's not always. It was mostly just that Marvel DC like CW thing. Like that one was pretty funny because I was listening at work, and I swear I was just like, oh, man. But no, I do.
That's great.
I just want to thank you guys. Hopefully we can do more Star Wars stuff in the future or something. And
yeah, because I think they're going to be pumping them out there at Disney Plus. So I think there's more ample opportunity for both of you guys to come back.
Oh, and so you guys know, and I'm sure Nick already knows this, but the Ahsoka series that comes out next year, that's written and directed by Dave Filoni, it is the true canonical continuation of the Rebels series. It's basically Rebels season 5 live action.
That's what I told you, Colton. That's where they're going with it.
And like Dave Filoni at Star Wars Celebration literally was like, I'm so excited to get to work on Rebels again. Like, that's what he said. They're bringing in like all the characters from the show. And like, I even saw a bootleg trailer that they released there, and like Hera, the Twilight pilot's in it. And like, it's exciting stuff. And so with how you guys like a lot of what they do, and Rebels being so good, I would say by next year, it doesn't come out until next year, I would try to get them watched. Because I feel like the impact will be, I would say, so Rebels will be better if you watch Clone Wars. But here's the thing. My wife really liked Rebels. She never watched Clone Wars. So like you could watch Rebels to try to get ahead of Ahsoka. And I don't think it would, I feel like Nick's gonna be like, no, you need to watch.
Oh, so Nick, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. It was fun. And Nick, I've enjoyed talking with you. It's always fun to hear the thoughts of another person in a fandom you enjoy.
Yeah, and kind of same. Gunner, thank you so much for having me on here. Colton, you can suck it. Chris, it's been great talking to you. Just having
how many guests have you had say that now?
Best
Nick,
part of the
I'm
episode.
going to say this. Nick just got to live out a dream to tell me off on the podcast.
There's
He
gonna
got
be
to
at
live a
least- There's
dream.
gonna probably be a couple like there could be thousands of people one day get to hear him say that.
Yeah,
You know?
I love it.
No, but go.
It'd be great.
Nick,
It'd be great.
yes.
So it really was. It was a good time chatting about Kenobi and everything. I'm glad we stayed on topic. Yeah, we mentioned Rebels a couple times. We mentioned Clone Wars, but I feel like Colton, Gunner, based on last week's sound check, we thought we were going to be here just off the rails on different
Yeah,
tangents.
for
So
real.
we stayed on topic pretty well. But yeah, thanks again for having me. It's been a good time on.
Yeah, thanks, Nick. All the way from the old Texas, us all the way from good old Pennsylvania, and Colton just sitting in his basement.
That's right. I want to thank Chris.
In an undisclosed location.
Yeah. I want to thank you, Chris and Nick, for making time to do this, to be a part of not only our shenanigans but our content. And I know you guys really help solidify the seriousness that we bring to this table, and just your general Star Wars knowledge that branches way far outside of the movie universe.
Yeah.
So I think that really helps. That just helps with the conversations, because you're right. If I watched everything like you, Nick, I would understand a lot more of the direction that they were going with Kenobi. I would get that a little bit better. And then Chris, I mean, your knowledge of outside of that is just, I love listening to it. So it's good to get two like-minded guys together and just have them nerd out
Oh, yeah.
for an hour. So I appreciate it.
I do have one last story before I do plugs.
Yeah.
So we're at work today.
Okay.
And the plant manager for the Pennsylvania plant walks up, and he calls me Chico. Right? He calls me Chico. So I'm like, "You listen to my podcast?" And he's like, "Yeah, I heard you have a podcast, all this stuff." Well, come to figure out later, my boss was saying something about Chris and Gunnar are doing a podcast tonight, and the plant manager goes, "What the hell's a podcast?" So my boss brings up his phone. He's like, "Let me see." I think
He's like,
it's- I think
Gunnar
it's
told
called-
me to find it somewhere.
It's called like The Call Guys, and he pulls up. He's like, "Oh, there's Gunnar right there," and he shows it. They listen to the first like 5 minutes, and he's like, "I heard you talking about KFC." And
So they trolled him. He was like,
Yeah, they trolled
"You
the shit
listen
out
to
of
my podcast," and they're like, "No."
just instantly disappointed. So
It was.
just want them, if they do actually ever finish an episode of Call Guys, about
They would
Star Wars.
never sit through this. They could, I don't know about Dwayne, but Jesse could care less about
Yeah.
Star Wars,
Yeah,
man.
oh yeah.
If he ever heard that, he'd be like, dude, if he came in and he was like, I actually listened to you guys the whole time.
The whole drive home Friday, he's listening to the Call Guys.
You should drive and just put it on.
Totally will. All right, everybody. I want to thank you for checking out the Call Guys podcast. If you want to listen to us, you can get us wherever you get your podcasts, whether that be Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, literally anywhere you get your podcasts. You can also find us on all your favorite social media accounts, whether that be Facebook, it's facebook.com/thecallguyspod, Instagram at the Call Guys, or TikTok, the Call Guys at the Call Guys podcast. Feel free to send us any of your recommendations for the question of the podcast, anything you want to hear in a future episode. Just tell us what your top 10s, top 5s, top 3s are. We love to hear what anybody has to tell us. I don't think we've gotten a single email in the last 16 episodes. So.
You get them from me.
Yeah,
We're
other than Chris.
I
and
get
my
I get a
dad.
lot of phone calls is what I get.
Yeah, that's I'll take the phone calls too if you want to talk. So you can send those emails to thecallguyspodcast@gmail.com. And also, while you're on the internet, check out our merch store. We got tons of stuff on there: hats, t-shirts, leggings, pint glasses, stickers. There's just so much on there. Go check it out. It is thecallguyspodcaststore.com. And while you're looking at all the stuff underneath the Emperor's umbrella, go check out the Golden Image Podcast at facebook.com/Golden Image Podcast, the Murdnerds Podcast at facebook.com/Murdnerds, and the United States of Paranormal podcast. That is facebook.com/United States of Paranormal. And we really do want to thank all of you for listening. And I really do want to thank Nick and Chris for both coming on to the Call Guys and chit-chatting about Obi-Wan. It's been fun. I'm happy you're all here. I'm happy. It's a little later than we normally record, but with Nick being an hour behind, it's all good. So
It's good for Nick.
yeah. Yeah, Colton's like, bed, please. So yeah. Any of you guys want to add anything?
If you do email them, let them know if your number 2 makes you cry.
Yep.
Yes, always. That needs to be answered.
Yep, for sure.
You can also
Nick-
tell Colton to suck it.
Nick,
You're gonna get more emails than you've ever had.
That's all it's gonna say. It's just gonna say "suck it." Not Col. It might
all
just
the
say Colton
subject
suck it.
headers.
Yep. Nick, for real, thank you. Your first time Call Guys guest, and we really hope to have you back on. I've enjoyed it. It's been super fun.
Yeah, I hope, I hope I get invited back after disagreeing with Colton.
I'm always down. I'm always down for a confrontation of any sort, Nick.
All right. Well, everybody, thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.